Hey, hey, how's everyone doing tonight? What's up, 88 Opus? There are no slides tonight. Whoa, some feedback here. No slides tonight. I'll show you why as we're going. You can talk about it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no slides tonight. You should hear the lack of echo now. I think I fixed it. But yes, what's up, D Flair? I gotta turn my screen backlight up. I can't it's like a glare and I can't see people's names. Let me see if I can turn this up. 1 second. Oh, that is if you weren't on Sunday, that is Terrence. I'll be officially introducing Terrence to y'all soon. But Terrence, he's just here, he's just watching. He works at we work together. We work together. So now he wanted to check out what we're doing. He was on the engineering panel last time, but you'll see more of Terrence. We'll like I said, we'll officially introduce Terrence. So we're doing some cool stuff. Yep, have him teach us. Yeah, that's the goal. He's a pretty dope software engineer. I think he can provide a lot of insight into other topics. So we're definitely gonna you'll see Terrence a lot more.
You guys will see me. We'll do an official rollout at some point.
We'll do official rollout at some point. For sure. But how's everyone doing tonight? Hopefully everyone's doing all good. I read the sound in the back, his master maid. Patting that now. I like that, master maid. And I will do it before I gotta do it before you. And it's gonna be a service where we come clean up your messes, but they have to be technical messes and not we're not cleaning up anyone's house, but we'll come clean up your technical messes and we'll be the master maids. I like that.
I love that.
And promote synergy. I do like synergy. I like synergy a lot. It's very different from watching live. Yes. Watching video on demand, like the video on demand is very different from watching live. Let's get logged in here. So what are we doing tonight? Tonight is we made it to, what are we in, week 5? We've done a lot. We're on the checkpoint lab. So we're basically going to rehash the things that we've done. We're gonna take what we've done. We're gonna do it in a different way. We're gonna automate some of it, and we're gonna dig a little bit deeper. We're gonna present some concepts to you that are kind of outside of the realms of things that we touched, but just to start to expand your world a little bit. We're gonna have some fun tonight. Tonight is truly a play lab, and we're gonna let it go where it goes. And I only say that that's the only reason we don't have slides. We're actually going to create. As we're going through, we're going to document what we're doing, and we're going to set up the lab in order of events that we do, like the things that we want to pinpoint, the kind of milestones that we want to hit along the way. Because I think it'll be interesting to have it'll be a little more freeform. Throw out things that you might want to see if you guys want to. Install this, actually use this site, do this thing. I think it'll be pretty fun. So we're going to basically be creating some documentation. We're going to throw it up in GitHub so that if anyone else wants to go through it later, or anyone watching the VODs can go through and do that as well. But let's head over to Mastermind Academy and curriculums. And I still need to update that.
Ain't late.
You're good. Go do whatever, whatever's comfortable. Cool. So, checkpoint lab. If this is a checkpoint lab, we're checking in where we are now. So, what have we learned so far? Just to rehash what we've learned so far. We've already gone over what DevOps is. So we know a little bit about DevOps. So we know. Hopefully, we can start to understand where we're trying to go, and hopefully, this will start to uncover how the things that we're learning are going to match up and how they're going to affect and help you move into more of the DevOps culture and the DevOps jobs. Hopefully what we learn tonight will help with that. So we learned a little bit about what DevOps is and kind of how it fits into the industry. Then we learned a little bit about programming. We learned some programming languages and some programming concepts. We did it with Golang. But that was cool. So we just got a light understanding of how to tell a computer to do things programmatically. So that was fun. Then we learned a little bit about Linux, how to kind of manage a system, figure out where things are, figure out how to move around, how to navigate the command line, figure out how to install applications, figure out how to install Linux. when you need to, and different hypervisors. And then we did some scripting. We kind of combined. That was kind of a mini checkpoint where we kind of combined the logic that we learned during the programming section into the stuff that we had learned with Linux. And so we've already done a good chunk of that. So that was fun. Today's lesson will extend that. And then we learned a little about networking security and the different protocols and things that make the internet work, how to log into, systems, how to move files around from, your host computer to remote computers, things like that. And then we learned all about load balancers and web servers and web traffic and how to, serve web data and move web traffic around to get it to serve back the information that you wanted to serve. So we're going to be combining, we're going to extend what we've already done with the Bash Lab, and actually let's go to GitHub. I'll give you the link to that. If you want to download the Bash Lab for what we did, let's see. Let me grab it. Bootcamp Jan 2020. This is where we put it. Yeah, we put it here. And so we'll make a new folder tonight for this. I'll just send you this. So if you want to check out this repo, you can see what we did with the Bash Lab. We have our script in here and what we kind of did with it. It became to be a pretty nice little script for a 2-hour session when we've never learned how to script before. So we're gonna write some scripts tonight, and it's going to be fun. So what time is it? Good people, 3 more minutes. That was just an intro to what we're gonna get into. Actually, I'm gonna hop into AWS now, and I'm gonna clean up some of the servers that we set up last time. We're actually gonna keep the load balancer that we set up on Sunday. We're gonna make a few more of them actually. Off code, let me get logged in. Shouldn't it be like good code, right? Self-documenting? Yeah, I mean, if we were going to be using Go, yes, we could do something like that. Good code should be self-documenting. For the most part, still do your due diligence. I like when people throw it out there. I've actually seen people really come with that as a genuine like reason why they didn't need to focus on any type of documentation, because the code is the documentation. That never works. None of us are good enough to make. Yeah, none of us are good enough to make that really work. Well, there are people, but it's not documentation. So let me get logged in real quick.
Yeah, some arguments.
Yeah, people are just help me understand what the code does. I don't want to decipher hieroglyphics all day. All right, so we're in the management console. Let me go ahead and delete some stuff. You do not need to hop into AWS for any of this. You don't need to do again, tonight's lab is about the concepts. We're going to heavily be relying on those things. You can absolutely spin up some AWS instances if you want, or your own VMs or whatever if you'd like, but no real need to do any of that. So I'm gonna terminate all these things that we set up last time. But we're going to leave our load balancer for now, just because I don't want to recreate the configuration for that, just to save us a little bit of time. A student commented a for loop saying it goes from 0 to 100. I mean, it's a student. I mean, I guess they wanted you to know exactly what it did. I find that's only really weird if it didn't go to 100, or if it didn't start at 0. And again, it's actually kind of, yeah, exactly. That's a really good one. 10x Cole. What's obvious to you may not be obvious to me. I mean, I do think the 0 to 100 thing is a little, could be pretty obvious. It should be pretty obvious, but there's a lot that just may not be obvious to a lot of people. Cool. So let's let these get terminated. It sucks that they just don't delete by themselves. So what are we gonna do tonight? So let's read through what we were doing last time in the Bash Lab, like who we were, what our goal was, the thing that we were trying to accomplish. And actually, I think I put it in the slides for that. So let's go in, check those, and do some cool extensions. That one. Bootcamp. All right, so last time we were part of a cool company. We learned a little bit about scripting. And so basically the scenario was that we were working for a healthcare company, a healthcare startup, and we had just gotten some funding, which was great. And we were going to be adding a bunch of devs over the next few months to our team, and that we were the only people, on board who knew how to do that, who knew the process to add users. And we needed some other people in the company to help us do that process because we didn't want to be the bottleneck. So the way that this scenario kind of fits into DevOps is that this is kind of the state in which a lot of companies are in when when they're trying to take on this DevOps journey. A lot of companies have, you grow, you hire someone because you just need someone to manage basic systems, and you have someone on board who's managing, 1 or 2 servers. Everything's great, and they're taking care of everything by hand, doing everything manually. They're really working out. They know what they're doing, and everything is all good until you start to grow, until you need to scale that. And so now these systems that you were managing by hand get a little tougher to manage. So you start having to put in automation and start having to change the way that you're kind of doing things a bit. And so that's what we took on with this bash scripting lab. This was the way that we started, the process, and we were able to take simple tasks like being able to easily add users and stick pertinent information into their home directory when the user was created, and send them an email and things like that. We were able to set all these things up so that other people could manually, so other people could do this automatically as well. And so we're still living in that same vein. So we're still working for this healthcare startup. We've been successful, and this script has been successful for us. We've been able to onboard a bunch of people, engineers, all kinds of people for the company. Company's growing, the company's doing well. But now that we have all these developers, there was only one developer before, and you kind of helping out. Now we've got a few different devs, and so now we need different environments. We need different servers for them to work through. We need different, we need production-like systems for them to work in. And again, this is very time-consuming to spin up by hand. You saw us; it took 2 hours for us on a little over 2 hours on us. On Sunday to spin up a basic server, load balanced kind of server setup with 4 servers that didn't really serve anything but a static website. And we kind of did that on the fly super fast, as fast as we could. This would be very time consuming for someone. So the goal for tonight is going to be to kind of talk about that, the needs in our setup, talk about how what a development environment will look like for these developers, because again, one of the things that you're going to be doing as a DevOps engineer is one of your customers. Yes, your company has a customer, but your customer is also the developers, the engineers. Your goal is to make it as easy as possible for the engineers to develop code as fast as they want to, give them the tools and give them the things necessary. So we want to be able to spin up these environments very quickly for our engineers as they're coming in. So let's start to automate some of the tasks that we've already done manually. So again, we learned how to, set up Nginx, and we learned how to open up firewalls and things like that, and get websites installed. But we haven't learned some other things like how to set up multiple websites. You're on the same server using virtual hosts. We talked about virtual hosts with Nginx. So we're gonna hop in and do some of that tonight. But we're really gonna automate the configuration of these servers so that we can, more easily be able to spin up things faster as new students come on. So that's just a little intro to kind of what we're going to be doing. Some of this coffee. Static. Anyone getting static? Could be the ambient music. I'll turn it down a little bit on the speakers. Hopefully. Oh, we definitely have LaCroix. We've got lemon and lime, Old Faithful tonight. I didn't want to venture out because after drinking coffee, I need something good, but I need the coffee just because I did not work out tonight. We had a little work dinner thing here. And when I don't work out before the stream, I'm actually more tired because usually, working out gets the blood flowing and I feel pretty good. So
my man drinking coffee and the LaCroix.
LaCroix's coming next. LaCroix's coming next for sure. LaCroix and coffee sounds nasty. It is nasty. It's not good. It is not good, but that's why you have to pick the best of the LaCroix flavors if you're gonna do it. But coffee really works for me. So I'm not a huge coffee lover, for the flavor or fancy artisanal coffee. Just give me whatever's around. If it's gonna wake me up, that'll be pretty great. What's up, POE? Brewin Bob. Welcome. Welcome tonight. So cool. So let's get going. Let's take a look at our web server that we set up on Sunday. So hopefully you're around for the lab on Sunday. If not, we'll fill you in a little bit on what went on with that. Got this sweet load balancer here. What is this load balancer doing? If I hit it right now, I've killed all of the servers that were behind it in the pool. So it shouldn't actually do anything. It should probably just time out because what this web server was doing is simply proxying data off to other servers. So here's what we want to do. We know that we want to save some money. We know that we have 3 engineers coming in. There's more coming in later, but right now we have 3 engineers coming in. We can give them some names in a second, but we have 3 engineers. So let's actually open up a file and start writing these things down so we can track what it is that we need to do and track our requirements. Oh, that's not what I meant to CD into. CD mastermind streams Linux. Wow, this folder structure has got to change. All right, so we're gonna make a new directory. We're gonna call it checkpoint lab. I was killing it, but then I wasn't anymore. Man, put my sleeves. I'm warm. I'm sure it's the coffee, but I'm definitely warm. I might have to open the door. Yeah, just leave it open. It's all good. So create this folder called checkpoint lab, and we're gonna go in here and we're gonna vim project requirements. So this isn't the best way to receive requirements, but again, we're a healthcare startup. You were the first kind of engineer on staff, the kind of systems administrator. So you don't have a lot of processes in place yet to really be able to track these things, to be able to map out the things that you need. We will get there for sure. We'll definitely get there for sure. But this is where we are right now. This is what a company might look like as they're growing. So we got maybe there's a CTO on board and he's going to give you this. He's going to write up this text file for you to kind of run through and give you your requirements. So let's say next week, we have 3 devs onboarding. Let's see. First, we need to set up developer servers for them. Okay, so this is going to be the first thing that we need. And then we're going to set up developer servers for them. No problem. We know how to do that. We're not gonna do that. We haven't gone over a bunch of AWS stuff, and maybe we're brand new to the cloud as you would be. So we know how to set up some servers. We know that through Amazon we can do them pretty quickly. So we'll go ahead and set those things up. But the outline, I guess the way, so our production environments, so developer environments. Let's do this. Let's say we want to use. We don't want to pay for any unnecessary infrastructure. So we're trying to save money. We just got some funding, but we want to save as much money as possible. So we don't want to set up basically with the CTO doesn't want to have to set up completely production like environments for everyone. So let's first talk about what production might look like. So before, what we had for production is we had basically a load balancer, and underneath that load balancer we had 3 application servers, or 1. Whoops. Three. So this is what production looked like before, and in each of these application servers, is app 1 and app 2. And so we can put this underneath all of these. App 1, app 2, and I'm sure everyone with OCD is going to be bothered by my inconsistent spacing, but no problem. We're gonna fix it all up. We are just going fast. So this is what our right now. This is kind of what our production setup looks like. So there's obviously way more to this. There are things like DNS that's set up to allow this to happen, but for the most part, we have 4 servers here. We have a load balancer that starts everything, and behind those load balancers, we have 3 application servers, each with application 1 and application 2 on them. And maybe we can fill out more information about how those are set up. And so we can go ahead and we want to set up this same thing. We want to be able to hit app 1 and we want to hit app 2, but we actually want to hit them through the same. We actually want to hit them through the same load balancer, and we want to give each of our developers a different. They want to have their own environments, but we want to be able to access them through a single load balancer. We're gonna diagram out and draw the IO what that looks like in a second. But that is essentially the biggest piece that we want to do. So we want to use. We're gonna clean all this up. Use a single load balancer to set up to access each developer environment. Cool. So we'll put that there for now, and we're gonna certainly flesh this out, because this is how a requirement might come to you. It might come to you pretty vague like this. Again, this is very confusing right now. We're gonna clear it all up, so don't sweat it. You may get some requirements like this. And it says, hey, next week we got 3 devs onboarding. This will probably come in an email. It'll probably come in an email that looks like this. Says, hey, next week we got 3 developers onboarding. First, we need to set up some developer environments for them. But really, what they really want to say is we need to automate developer servers for them, or development servers for them. We don't want to pay for any unnecessary infrastructure. We want to use a single load balancer to access each of these development environments, using their names as the subdomain. We talked about subdomains a bit with DNS, but we will have fun messing with this. So we get this right now, vague, but we know that we need to start off setting up some servers. We know how Proud runs. We actually set this up. We set up a load balancer. We set up application servers. Last time we only had 1 site running on them, so we got to learn how to. We know that we have to learn how to run a second site on the server. We got to figure out how to make our Nginx configuration work accordingly. But we need to kind of automate this stuff. Like, we need to put in some automation so that we don't have to. Maybe we can't automate everything, but so that we can automate the configuration of kind of what we're doing. So let's start from scratch here. We know that we need to do this. We need to automate kind of building some servers and getting them kind of set up accordingly. So let's take a look at what we have already in AWS. Let's log into our load balancer and see how it's set up currently. I'm gonna grab this. Actually, we actually have some stuff in our host file for this. So remember, we set up our /etc hosts. Remember, we set this up on Sunday, and so now I can type in load balancer on my local machine, and it'll take me right to the server that we have. I had web 1, 2, and 3 in here, but we'll delete those since we deleted the actual servers. I can't save these, can I? Yep. Get rid of these for now. Okay, so now we're all reset. So let's go ahead and get logged into localhost. Not localhost. Connection refused. Is this not localhost? That was load balancer. All right, we're getting logged into, wow. Cat etsy.ssh. Is this still not set up? Huh, wait, not Etsy, slash. Wait, I know what I'm doing. Cat, yes, I'm just trying to work on my .sh. Big, huh. We have, oh, we never set it up for this. Okay, no problem. All right, so we need to log into this server really quick. So sh-i. What do we call it? We call it SSH test. Ubuntu. What do we call? Oh. Okay, so that took a long time. So we're logged into our Linux server. We got our welcome. We got our message of the day here. So when we log into the server, you can get this thing called a message of the day. We're gonna set up one of these tonight, but yeah, it lets us know that we have some packages that need to be updated. We could say whatever we wanted in here, but we'll talk about that later. But I am in the server now. I'm in the server right now. So let's go to our Nginx config. We know that Nginx is what we're using, but let's take a look at our Nginx config. Sites. Okay, so we set up this Nginx config last time, which actually, did we set it up in the default? Or did we set it up in the main config? Okay, we set it up here. So, so we set up a server. We set up a single server, which when this accepted a request, it would basically proxy out information to one of these three servers based on whatever load balancing method that we applied to it. Remember, what were some of the load balancing methods that we could apply to it? We could apply something like I think it's round robin by default. I believe maybe it's least connection by default, but it could go in order. So first connection to come through would go here. The second one would go here. The third one would go here. Fourth one here. Fifth, sixth, and that would be round robin. We could also do something like least connection. So it would always send the request to the server which has the least amount of active connections on it. So there are times when people, a bunch of people may come in and it may spread the load over a bunch, but some people may stay on for a while, some people may leave. So you may have 20 or 30 people on this server here, and maybe you only have 10 people. Maybe the people who are connected to the server, maybe they have left and don't have any connections. Least connection will always send it to the server that has the least amount of connections to always do its best to keep the connections as low as possible on each of the servers. You can do things like using IP hashing to keep your sessions, to keep persistent sessions. So if you want people to join and when they connect, you want them to connect to the same server with every request they make, you can do something like that. But we have some options for that. And remember, you can find that in the Nginx stuff. So we're not gonna go too deep over load balancing again, but I wanted to give just a quick nod to what we did on Sunday, since I know a lot of people weren't here on Sunday and weren't able to check out the things that we had done. But we set up this simple proxy, a very simple proxy to kind of load balance against some servers here. So cool. So we have this. We might have to modify this. We're going to have to come back to this. I just wanted to show what we had available to us already. We already have the load balancer set up, but we have a load balancer that is set up, but we're going to have to change it. I just wanted to show you what we already have for it. So take a little break there. That was a lot. Take a little break there. Ask questions about what we're about to do. We're about to try to automate the configuration of these developer servers. We're going to try to get the two sites. It's going to be running two applications. So we saw here, that the developers are basically going to be working on two different applications. So we're basically going to have to get a server up really quick. We're gonna have to get some stuff installed on it to be able to serve web content. So that's whatever web server we choose. We'll probably use Nginx. Again, we could use Apache if we wanted to. You could use whatever web server you wanted. And we'll have to get it serving 2 different applications. So that's the first thing we're gonna do. And we're gonna try to get that. We're gonna figure out how to do it first, and then we're gonna get it automated really quick, probably using something we've already learned, like a bash script, to be able to kind of just place it on a server and get going with that. What's up, Indrak the Sucknack? Welcome. Thank you for the follow. Welcome to the channel. But cool. So looks like there's a lot of chatter. Let's see. I don't know, some more companies don't use Linux in a lot of ways. Linux as a desktop, probably because of not a lot of companies sell computers that they can support with Linux on it. Again, I only know one company, and that's System 76. That's probably one of the biggest reasons. Dell does as well now for a certain. They have a few laptops in their series that they'll run Linux on and actually support. But just probably a lack of demand, most likely. I know companies like where I'm at now will kind of let you do whatever you need to do and work with whatever you want. But as far as servers and things, like the world kind of runs on Linux, so they do use Linux there. Linux sounds scary. Yeah, can you fill me on the load balancer stuff? Yes, so hopefully that fills you in a bit, but I can answer some more if I get to the end of this and you have any questions. Let's see. Like washing machines that even distribute the server load. That's, yeah. I mean, I never heard them described as washing machines, but that could, I get it. That could work. Don't try to apply. I would encourage you not yet to apply the things that we're doing. Everything we're doing right now is not AWS specific. All of it could be done, again, locally with VirtualBox. If you were spinning up a couple servers in VirtualBox, all this stuff is agnostic of AWS. This is kind of how you would manually set things up. These are not AWS load balancers. These are load balancers set up by Nginx that we are manually setting up via Nginx. So you can set up load balancers manually yourself. That's what we're going to be doing. Well, that's what we've done. Tell you're a Linux man. Everyone I've ever met is a huge fan of using. Yeah. Yes, we are absolutely gonna build. We're about to do exactly that. We're about to build a server. We're gonna go ahead and build one of these environments by hand so that we know what to do. Because commonly that's what you have to do. You can't really. It's hard to automate a task that you do not know how to do manually. And it's that simple. If you don't know how to do the task manually, it becomes difficult to automate that task. So we're gonna go through and do the task manually first, and we're gonna automate the things that we've done to make it make sense. Load spreading. Let's see. I've learned something. I mean, high school computer classes, they're doing their best. Usually most schools, at least that I know of, don't have computer teachers, dedicated computer teachers per se, and low budgets. And honestly, it's hard to know. It's hard to know what to teach and how to teach a class full of, 40 kids when you have behavioral problems, there's all kinds of other stuff going on. Luckily, I don't have to deal with any of you guys behaving poorly, only in the chat, but I can just ignore that. So it's all good. All right. So yeah, we're going to show all that. Wouldn't you want to automatically distribute the users by default? Yeah, you could. Why would you not want a round robin? So the reason why you wouldn't want a round robin is a little bit from what I said about the least connection thing. Yes, I could round robin all the stuff in the beginning, but we could get to a space where basically the connections that have been made to server number 3, those people are staying on board. Those people are still engaged on our application, on our website, and have active connections that are processing data. And so those connections are kind of never released. Round robins continue to send connections to those servers. So you may have a server that's, it was being hit, but currently, the people who are on it for whatever reason, there's just not many people utilizing the server, and so round robin can allow you to get to one or two servers that are way more highly utilized than another server, just because of the length of time a connection is made and processes are called. So that's why round robin's not always the best. It seems like you would want that by default, but that's not always true. I think least connection might be the most common. Again, because it usually spreads out the load a little more evenly, but they all have all of the load balancing options have their caveats for sure. Are you going to be building these servers in VirtualBox? Only reason I'm not building them in VirtualBox is because it would be more time consuming and we don't have a ton of time. But we could easily build them out in VirtualBox. You could just basically make duplicates of a single one that you already did. These EC2 instances that I'm using are basically the same thing as a VirtualBox virtual machine. The only difference is the networking is going to be a little different and the way that you access them is going to be a little different. But yeah. Don't know what the hardware wise. Yeah. Oh, yep. I'm gonna keep throwing out. Actually, I'm gonna put a card down at the bottom, or maybe we'll put in the chat command like, "Who's that guy?" But it's Terrence. He'll be around. Terrence will be around. He's a pretty dope engineer, software engineer. He's gonna be helping out with some stuff. He's gonna be. You'll see him. You
guys will see me, I promise.
You never see. He's smart. He's just tuning in, listening in. Just kind of seeing how we do stuff here. Yep, rule of two. I like that. Okay, so let's go ahead and get our first server set up, just so we can have a practice server, almost like to have a server that we can try to build out to see if we can solve the needs that we want to have. And we already had them, but again, I wanted to do them. I wanted to do it manually here. Let's go ahead and launch an instance. This is just like building a virtual machine on your computer. Again, we're going to use Ubuntu. We'll just use the smallest one because we don't really need to do a lot here. Don't need to do a lot here at all. We'll give it a name. And we'll call it App 1. The server will call it App 1. Okay. You've seen this screen a few times. This right here, this security group, while I don't need you to know what a security group is, because that's going to be talked about in AWS portion. The security is essentially a firewall. We have been talking about firewalls and explicitly letting through or blocking traffic. By default, at least in Amazon, at least in AWS, this firewall blocks everything except for SSH. So we talked about how you connect. We talked about Secure Shell and how you connect from a host computer to a remote computer in Linux. That's using Secure Shell, SSH. That runs over port 22. So by default, 22 is open. So you need to be thinking about firewalls when you're setting up systems. Firewalls are very important. Security is very important. But you need to make sure that you open up the lanes in which you need to connect. So we know that we're going to be running a web application. So if we're running a web application, what port do we need? We need to open up port 80. And we're going to open it up to the world. Generally, port 80 is actually not a port that's open on a lot of machines anymore. Usually it's only 443. Tonight we'll try to build it out so that 443 is opened up, but you probably won't be able to hit the website again because we'll have to self-sign some certs and it's going to be a whole thing, but we'll try to get to that too. So go ahead and launch. We're going to use the same key pair that we've been using. All right, so we've got this raw instance that's spinning up right now that we're going to log into, and we're just going to see if we can get this set up. So we're going to have two things running on it. We are going to have, again, we're going to have an application running on it. We're going to have an application running on it, and we're going to have a static web page running on it. So an application we're going to use, the Node.js website, nodejs.org, GitHub. It is an open source website that we can use. We can spin up nodejs.org. And so we can run basically this site. We can basically run this site right here from our own domain, or from our own servers. So we'll go ahead and we'll do that. That'll be our application. It runs via Node.js. So we'll have to get another server-side kind of scripting language that's going to sit behind Nginx installed. and we'll talk about ports and things that it runs over, and we'll learn how to proxy things to it. But also, we're just going to grab a static website to use as our face. There's two things. Those are the two applications that we're running, App 1 and App 2. Yeah, so not important that you know how to spin up the AWS instance, but if you wanted to, we're gonna make two more. But you can almost click next. We used all defaults. We actually didn't change a single thing in the AWS instance piece of it. We just kind of click through. We'll click launch instance, and we literally just went to. We did choose Ubuntu, but you could choose Amazon Linux if you'd like. And then we just kind of click next. And then we click next, and then we click next, and then you can give it a name here, but you don't have to. You can click next again. This is where we made some changes, but you could actually click next again and add this later. It's not important that you add this now. So you could just kind of click next and next and next and next. If you don't have one of these, you can allow it to give you a new one. You can click this and create new. But we already have one. This is what's you need this to be able to log into the server and download. So now we have two. We will be using that because, again, we will be using 3 of these. So let's grab a site from here. We'll grab telephasic.
What?
Telephasic.
Telephasic.
We're grabbing strongly typed because I know how to pronounce it. And we'll copy this link address. Sure. Sure. Cool. So we have our server spun up. Our first server should be spun up. So let's log in and let's get all of our configuration set up properly and see if we can get this one server routing to the 2 different applications that we have. Again, we know we need to get a web server installed, things like that. So let's go ahead and let's do that. Let's go back to our EC2 instance. App 1. So we're gonna log into App 1 here. And so now this is not exciting, but this is good practice because now you get to practice putting in we're going to type all of our SSH commands raw. We're going to type them all over and over again so that you can see the structure in which we need. So how do we connect via SSH? We type in SSH. We talked about needing we're using SSH keys. We said that usually for SSH, you would do SSH, basically username at IP address or domain name. This would normally be the makeup of things, but because we're using SSH keys, we have to do we have to pass in the key that we're using. And so you do an I for identity and then pass in the key. So it's going to look like this. So let's go ahead and set that up. So SSH-I, and now we got to give it the full path to or we can give it the full or the relative path to our key file. So remember, full or relatives. Full is always going to start with a slash. So again, we're recovering all the stuff that we learned in Linux. The full path to my key is located in my home directory. So home, Abrooks, is located in my documents, AWS keys, and SSH test.pem. So I could use that as the location to my key, or I could do relative. So relative is its location relative to where I currently am right now. So relative to where I currently am now is I have to go back a few directories. So I'm here, I gotta go back 1, I gotta go back 2, 3, 4, and then I have to go forward some. So // 3, 4 / what's in here? Is that too far? No, one more. AWS keys. All right, so this is the relative path. This is the path relative to where I am currently, as opposed to the original path that we were gonna do, which was the absolute path, which is cleaner. Generally, when you're doing stuff like this, I would do the absolute path unless you are in the directory or very close to the file that you were at. So like if we were actually, instead of being in this directory, if we were in, let's say we were in the actual documents, AWS keys folder. Let's say we were already here. The path to this would actually be The path is right here, so I can just type in sshkey.pem because I'm in the location in which this exists. But cool, let's log into that server. So Ubuntu we'll get our fingerprint message the first time, and we're all logged in and we're good to go. All right. So what is the first thing I told you guys we needed to do when we kind of spin up a new server? What's the first thing that we need to go ahead and do to make sure that we get all, that our computer knows about all the packages and the latest packages and updates, all of its mirrors and things? What's the first thing that we need to do? Somebody throw it out, so that I know we're all learning. Yep. Okay, let me make that again. Why is that important? Why is port 80 significant to them? So port 80 is significant to you because that is the port for the hypertext transfer protocol, which is HTTP. That is the port of the web. But again, nowadays, whenever you see, when you go to a website, you're generally connecting over HTTPS, which is the secure port. You see this little lockup in the corner. We are not connecting to AWS over port 80. We are connecting to them over port 443. And most sites you go to, almost every single one, I really don't even think the website, I mean, that's your browser is going to give you a lot of like warnings if you go to a site that's not secure. So, yeah, well, but 80 is good to know for now. Okay. Let's see. Cool. Thank you, Uno Plank. We will go ahead and do that. We need to update first. We need to go ahead and we need to run an update. So we're going to do sudo app update. We're going to use our package manager to do this. If you're on, we're going to use app because we are on a Debian-based distribution like Ubuntu. If you were on something like CentOS or Red Hat or RHEL or Fedora, you would use Yum. I think if you're on Mac and you're on your brew, I think your brew updates every time you try to install something. So I think you could do like a brew update as well. And so yeah, so we're gonna go through. It's gonna go through all of its all the things that it has available to it. It's gonna check and see what information it has available to it. So cool. Now that we have it updated, let's note that as the thing that we would do. So let's make some notes on what needs to be done when we start up a new server, so that we can automate these things. So let's save this and let's vim a new file called server notes .txt. And so the first thing, things to do when building a new server. So first thing we need to do is we need to update it. So we went ahead and we did that. If we want, we can put in the command in here if we'd like to do. All right, so now we got some notes. You should be taking notes when you're learning some new stuff. And we got some notes here. First thing we do is update. So great. And we need to install Nginx. So again, you don't need to remember offhand the name of the package or how to do it. We know that we need a web server. We could use Apache. Maybe we'll use it. We'll use Nginx just to keep it sane. Too many concepts at once, but we know we want to use Nginx, so keep it really simple. You don't need to struggle through things. You don't need to try to memorize a bunch of stuff. Just simply Google how do I install Nginx on Ubuntu, and you look through. You can click on whichever ones you want. We already used this one, so we'll check this one out again. And you can read through this. It's really good documentation. They even give you some options to choose different distributions, different versions. Gives you some introduction on how to do it. But we can look at step 1, installing Nginx. And it says the first thing that we need to do is update, which we have already done. So that's great. But it looks like the next thing we need to do is sudo apt install Nginx. So we can use this entire thing to make sure we have some things set up properly. So set this up. Let's run this and we'll check and see if this runs. Lets us know the packages that it's going to install. We can go ahead and update if we want to update. All right, so it's gone through. We didn't get any errors. I was surprised at how many people look for some type of confirmation at the end of an installation of a Linux package. It makes sense. It makes perfect sense. It's something that you might be used to, but in Linux, the things that you're looking for generally is to get out of here with no errors, to get put right back on the your command prompt without any errors. Again, you could check the exit code. We learned how to check exit codes. We learned about what exit codes were, so you could check that if you were unsure. But generally, if you get punched back out to the command line here, you're probably fine unless you were expecting some output. So how do we check to see if Nginx? We know Nginx is installed. We learned last time that Nginx starts itself when it is installed. So how do we? Let's check our ports. Let's see if our ports are open for port 80. So let's just again practice some of our commands. Our netstack command. Tool pin, we're gonna grep port 80. So it looks like port 80 is in fact open here. And how do we check if Nginx is running? We could do a couple different things. We could do service, sudo service, Nginx status. So this is how you can check. You can use this service, the name of the service, and status to check its status. So we can see here that it's loaded and that it's active and that it's running, and it's got its process ID is here and some more information about it, a little bit of log output. We can probably scroll down maybe and see anything else if we needed to see anything else, but we're good there. So we can see that it's running, or again, we can use something like PS to see what's running. So we can see Nginx is running. We've installed it. We've confirmed it's running. Let's go ahead and let's throw this into our notes because we know we need to get Nginx running. So actually, let's also do this. Let's also check. We know that's running. Let's see if we can get to it. Let's see if we try to interact with the server over port 80, what happens. So we can grab the public DNS or the public IP address for this. Why can you grab either one of those? You can grab either one because again, networking basically works, the internet basically works via these IP addresses, and this public DNS is just the domain name that's set for this IP address. So it's really the same thing. This IP address will come straight to the server. This DNS address will need to be translated into this IP address by DNS, but eventually it will get down to be this, and it will take you to where you need to be. So we can use either one of these and paste it in, and we can see the same glorious Nginx page that we're used to seeing. So we know we have a web server running now. We know we have it up. It's not really configured to do much, but it is serving us content, and that's going to be the first step that we need to be able to install what we need to install to get both of our applications running. So break right there. Let's take a little break right there. You don't use it for a while and you get too far behind, apt-get won't update. Is that true? I've never seen that not true. Won't work if you get too far behind. Maybe I've never let it get that far behind. How far behind do you have to get for it to stop working? I've never seen that before. Change to the timestamp on Nginx is in the future. Where are you looking at? Here. Oh, so actually that's not actually all that weird. Notice it says UTC here. So what you're looking at right here is the server time. So if I type in date, this is the server time here. The server time is set to UTC. Most of Amazon's, I think all of Amazon servers by default are set to UTC time. And if you're ever unsure if that's the right time, it's the right time. But if you're ever unsure, you can say, what time is it? UTC. And we can see here it's 1:55 a.m. Wednesday, February 5th. So it does look like it's in the future, different time zone, different time format. So yeah, that can be super confusing. That is something that is very important that's actually a great thing to point out. system time. The system time may differ from yours, whether it's AWS or not. The system time may differ from yours, and system time can be the cause of lots of issues, especially if you're using. A lot of people use date or time to seed random functions, to do a lot of. There's a lot of reasons why you use date and time for things, and it can cause lots of problems if you. If you're not really thinking about it, if you're expecting the time to be your time zone or whatever. So just something to be cognizant of, that the system time may be different from your own time. What's up? What's it? Let me try this. Nickney Mimyak. I did it. I got as close as I could. I gave a valiant effort. Welcome to the channel. Thank you for following. Let's see. Well, once I was in a year without updating Kali Linux, and every time I tried to update it, it was far out of date, and I ended up having to download the latest. Wow, that's interesting. So I can actually see that for Kali. Maybe it's some security focused thing, the source list thing, like your was it cat? Like let's see, apt what is this? Your source, like sources list. There's a bunch of stuff in there. Yeah, maybe that. I don't know. Or maybe they went out. Maybe your mirrors like died or something. I don't know. At a PHP app that ran into time zone issues, and payments wouldn't show on our platform until the next day. That sucks. I've run into just enough time zone issues for me to know that it's a problem and that we should call it out, just because these are the things like this are the thing that again takes you from. We can all learn the tech. We can learn how to use the technology. The stuff that people really pay you for is stuff like that, knowing that time zones can be an issue, and to be cognizant of time zones being an issue, and having run into those problems. People pay you for running into those problems. So yes. Can I move my key from AWS from my Windows computer to VirtualBox and it'll still work? Yes, you can. You can copy and paste it. You can move that key to wherever and it will still work. But be careful how you transfer it. Be careful who you give it to. But yes, you can move that anywhere you need to move it to, where you want to use it, and it will still work. That is an excellent question. Cool. Only thing with Windows is you use them a little bit differently, unless you're using like Windows subsystem for Linux. Using a PIM key on Windows can be annoying. I think you have to use PuTTY to do that. But yeah, you can move them around wherever you'd like to move them to. Okay, so do we add that into this? What's up, you can alien? Okay. I think you're I think you're trying to say you're an effing alien. I'm guessing, but I like it. I like it. Welcome to the channel. Cool. Any tips on having low confidence in one's skill sets and bombing during interviews? Yes. My only tip to that is to let you know that like that is I don't know a good way around that. I think it is an inevitable piece of the puzzle. And maybe it helps knowing that like one of the things that I didn't have when I was going into things is knowing that like a lot of people bomb, like most people bomb interviews, even people who are really good bomb interviews. And like it's hard, it's very easy to start to think that like, oh man, I'm just not, like you get the imposter syndrome. You're like, oh, I'm really not cut out for this. But think about how much more you know than everyone that you know, everybody that you know. Think about how much more about this stuff that you know, that you know than them. You know more than a lot of people. Some interviews just aren't going to go well. Some jobs you're just not cut out for. Some jobs are looking for that 10x dev, and they need that like the woman. I don't want to say 10x dev, but someone with tons of experience who knows all their stuff. But you will have ones that you bomb on. One, it can be very difficult to be conscious during that time. It's very easy to kind of pull back when something like that is happening, but do your best in those situations to start to like take in the things that you're being asked that you have no idea of. Like if somebody's asking you a question, you're like, man, I don't know anything you're talking about. Remember those things. Ask questions about them. Say like, hey, I'll be honest with you, I have no idea what you're talking about. Do you think you could explain that to me a little bit? Or remember, write it down when you leave. Go learn that stuff. Like that's some of the best stuff. Like having interviewers ask you a bunch of stuff that you don't know about, writing it down, watching some YouTube videos, just enough so you can like be able to speak about it and be familiar with it, and then go to another interview and use that information to kind of kill those interviews. It does suck. It's a terrible feeling. I don't have a quick win on how to get over that feeling, but you can use those experiences to help prepare you for the next one. It does suck. It really
practice,
sucks.
Man.
And practice. Yeah.
Keep practicing. Get everything. Get better over time.
Yep.
More comfortable.
Yeah, it's definitely hard. The more and more you do, it definitely happens to everyone. And again, the more you do, like I bombed an interview not that long ago, and it wasn't an interview that I wanted. It wasn't a job that I wanted. It was I was trying to figure out. They were giving huge referral bonuses, so I was trying to figure out who I could send to them, what it was that they were really looking for, because they weren't giving me any information on that. And I bombed that. I did not do well. They asked me very specific, very specific, like AWS questions and stuff. I've been working with AWS for forever. Very specific questions here and there, and like, I don't know. It's just something like I don't know. The more and more you talk to people, the more and more you're open about what it is that you're having problems with, and like just trying to learn stuff. You'll start to realize where everyone else's skill set is as well. Like I think we have a false idea of how much everyone else out there knows. Sure, there are people who know all the stuff, but a vast majority of people have a handle on a bit of it and are able to successfully do a job. And most companies nowadays know that. So definitely don't sweat that. All right, so let's keep going. Keep throwing out your advice in the chat for sure. Keep talking about that. We're gonna keep going just so we can make sure we can get some of this stuff set up. All right, so the second thing, we know that we need to install Nginx, and all we need to do is do sudo apt install Nginx, and that will do that. So we did this. Excuse me, sorry. And we got Nginx installed. So now we also need to set up a way to be able to host at least one website. So let's go ahead back and let's grab our static website. Actually, start with our application. Now let's start with the website. So we run HTML5 up. We're gonna grab this static website, this static HTML thing. We're gonna copy this link address, and we're gonna get that downloaded to the computer. So imagine that we didn't just grab this online. Imagine this was our company's files. We would probably be using GitHub or something, but imagine it was just sitting off somewhere in the internet that we could grab it from. And so to install that, let's check where our web server's root is. When I say web server root, what am I talking about? This page right here is being served out of somewhere. It's not just magic. This is what is the language of the web? The language of the web was JavaScript now, but the main language of the web is HTML, hypertext markup language. It sets up the structure of the pages that you're seeing, and so this is actually coming from an HTML file, and it's being served from our computer. Let's see if we can find out where that is. Let's take a look at our Nginx config, and remember, where is most configuration on Linux machines? It is in /etc, and usually there'll be a folder for the service you're using. And just to fast track us, it's going to be in the sites available thing here in the default. What's up, Volcane 7032014? Thank you for the follow. Welcome. But you can check out where the server root is in the configuration here. I went straight to it. This is something called a virtual host file, vhost file. I actually think in Nginx they might not be called virtual hosts, but people continue to call them that because that's what they're called in Apache. But they do the same thing, same concept. But we can see here, this is where our server root is. So things by default are going to be served out of this directory. So let's go ahead and let's copy and let's head over to this directory and see what's there. And this is a common, again, this is a common web directory, var www HTML. And we'll go in here. And again, we'll see this HTML file. Let's take a look at it. And we'll see here, if you see this, welcome to Nginx. If you see this page, the Nginx server is successfully installed. So we see the same stuff here. Welcome to Nginx. If you see this page, successfully installed. So great. It's got a little bit of CSS in here and it's good. It's all good. A basic page here. So we can actually put we could delete this file. We could move this file out of the way. But we know that things are being served from this location. So I'm just gonna leave that as is. And let's go ahead and download our site right into this file. We'll download it right here. We'll download it. And oh yeah, we had to do this last time. Note this no check certificate thing. All right, so we got this download. Oh, permission denied. So sometimes you got to read the output. I'm moving really fast. So everything looks good. It looked like it downloaded stuff. We got a 200 response. So we haven't learned about HTTP response codes, I don't think yet, but 200 means good. So definitely write that down. 200 means good as far as the internet goes. But then we get a permission denied here. And it cannot write download, even though it says success. I think that's what would confuse me for a second. But again, what do you think of when you see permissions issues? You simply type in sudo. We escalate those privileges so that we can do whatever we want. It downloaded. And now we have this download here. It's actually a zip file. It doesn't have a zip extension, but we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna unzip it. Unzip, download, and we can't unzip it. And we ran into this last time. Unzip is not installed on the computer. We need to go ahead and install it. So let's go ahead and install it and let's update our documentation with the things that we found out so far. Well, let's see if it works first. We'll install unzip using our package manager. So we did an apt install unzip. And again, if you didn't know how to unzip a file from that was downloaded from the internet, what would you do? You would just go here and you would say how to unzip a file from command line, and just click around and look, someone just did it. It looks like a bunch of people have upvoted this. So this isn't, you're not lost. Like you're not stupid for wanting to ask a question like this. And you go through and find the answers, and look, the same thing that we just did, it had us go ahead and install this unzip thing, and it gives us some more information about how to use the unzip utility. So great, you can find that answer that way, a lot of upvotes. So again, when you see me do some of this stuff and you're like, oh, is that a command I'm supposed to know? Is that something I'm supposed to know? Sure, try to, it's gonna be hard to tell you which things exactly to memorize and which things like are just tools that you'll pick up over time, and you can Google these things, but you can Google everything. So don't sweat it. Just know that you can unzip, like I think we all know what zip files are. We've seen them on our Windows desktop or our Mac. We know that you can package up these files in zip files, and that you can unzip them. And so you can unzip them from a command line. Because remember, everything that you can do from your desktop, you can do from here. You can actually do more from the command line than your desktop. So we've unzipped that. Oh no, we didn't unzip it yet. But we tried the sudo unzip download. And we do it, it looks like it's inflating everything. So zip files are actually compressed. So we get that. And all these files open up right here now. So now if we go into, we check our site. We actually don't even need to restart Nginx or anything. When we refresh it, now we actually have a website already set up. So this is our company's website. I'll paste this IP address in there if you want to try to hit it. You can all hit it. If you hit it at the same time, you might bring it down because it's a small server, but go for it, have fun. Don't try to actively write something that's gonna bring it down.
in here? Won't like
Yeah.
bring down everything.
No. It's all good. You hit that, I mean, hey, it's strongly typed. I would too. So here we go. We have a site. We have our company site up and running. Our company now has a name. Even though we're a healthcare company, we are called Strongly Typed. Strongly Typed Healthcare. So our site is up. This is going to be the main website that our engineers are working on. So we were able to successfully get that site up and running on their on the development machine. We've created a pretty basic development machine by hand, which we intend to automate in a second. But we've got that up and running. Now, behind this static website, there's also an application that runs. While the thing that we are going to install next is another website, it's using a server-side scripting language that applications are generally written in, and so I just want to kind of show you how something like that would be hosted, would be delivered. Some ways that we could go ahead and do that. So again, we're gonna install Node.js.org. It is a Node. I mean, it's written in Node.js. And it runs, actually runs by default on an Express server that Node.js creates for us. So what are we going to do here? So then we updated documentation first, make sure we updated everything. We did not. So then we're going to do 3 and say download site, download static site files to server root. All right, so we're gonna download static files to server root. And I'll just put over here wget so we don't forget the command that we use, and we can paste in the link later. And then we can say for. We can't, wait, unzip isn't available by default. We need to install it. And how do we do that? You can just, again, notes, apt, install unzip. And then we need to unzip, and then that's all we did. After we did that, I think that's the last thing we did was to install unzip. Oh, and then we needed to unzip site zip file in server root directory. And so we can just put in here unzip download that zip to, and just so we can remember, to var www html. That's server root. So again, just notes that we can use to go ahead and script this thing out, automate it a little bit, so that we can create more and more servers like this. And it's gonna be fun because you're gonna see how much time we're gonna take up doing this manually, and then how fast we're gonna be able to spin up as many servers as we want after this. And part of it's manual, but like we'll be able to configure some of these servers very quickly once we're ready to go. All right. Then we want to install this Node.js server. So Node.js can be notoriously finicky to set up properly on Ubuntu specifically. On everything else, it actually works pretty well, but it has to do with the way that Ubuntu, the structure in which Ubuntu like creates for this, and the permissions that are given to it, to the modules, directories, etc., etc. So it would be pretty easy to install this. Generally popular things like Node.js, we can use our package manager to install these things. So again, simply Google, like, hey, I've never done this before. I've actually never set up the main application before. I know it's a Node.js application. They've given me access to this repository here. So we could actually use the README in here. We could read through this and actually use the README to figure out how to set it up. And it's actually a pretty simple setup. It may take some time for you to parse through it, but this is essentially the setup right here. But you do, if you didn't know this, you need to have Node is an application. It's a runtime that you need to have installed. So I know that we need to go ahead and get that installed. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna try to set that up right now. So again, Google install Node JS on Ubuntu 1804. We're using 1804. Simply just type it in, exactly what you want to do, type it in, see if you can find an answer. You won't always be able to find the answer, but a lot of the times you will. All right, let's see. To-do is basically commanding as admin. Yep. What's up, Tim Rustwick? I didn't even see the raid come in. Welcome to the channel, everyone. Actually, it's good. Someone promptly reminded me on a raid yesterday that usually for people who come in and raid that we usually have ads usually play immediately. So welcome everybody from the Tim Rustwick channel. Thank you for bringing people over. I hope everyone's having a good night. Tonight we're just doing a little bit of we're kind of tying the things together that we've learned so far. So far we've learned some Linux stuff. We've done some bash scripting. We learned a little bit about programming. We learned about web servers and web traffic management and different web protocols. So we're basically just kind of automating the setup of some servers, just using the tools that we've already learned. There's better ways to do these things. We will get there throughout these 12 weeks, but right now we're just using the kind of raw tools that we have with Linux. So we're having a good time doing that. So welcome. It shows how to fetch this in terminal. Not sure what you mean by fetch this in terminal. Can you mute people in chat? Hey, we don't got to mute anybody. It will still show us overlay. Yes, you can actually. Cool. Why do you use Node and not Python? So I'm only choosing Node. I could choose Python, but I find that the Python, I find that there aren't many good example Python sites to just grab and set up really quick. I prefer Python. I do prefer Python, but I think Node is. I don't know, for what we're doing right now, either one would work just fine. Also, I think the Python internal server runs on port 80 by default and Node does not. And so that adds another layer of ease to what we're doing now. We don't have to do any extra configuration to, we can use Nginx to proxy to that new port. So that's another reason we are using that now. Yeah, Ubuntu is over 18. It's actually at 1910, and I guess it'll come out to 2004 will come out in April. But yeah, and it's cool. And the only thing we're doing with Node.js is we're not writing any Node. We're actually spinning up this Node.js site, which is nodejs.org. The site itself is actually open source. We're already hosting one site. So basically we're working for a company. We're working for a healthcare startup. And we got some engineers coming on board, and basically the development servers have a static site on them. And they also are going to need to have our application on them. Our Node.js website is going to be the application, even though it's not really an application. So we need to get both of those things set up. We've already got our static site. You can click on, oops. I can give you the URL. I can give you the IP address for where we're looking at now. Maybe. Yes, this is the site in which we've already set up. We're going to set up a second website on this server. Does anyone know when you should update your Ubuntu version? If you're using a long-term support version, if you're using an LTS version, which is generally like 16.04, and then I think 20.04 will be another long-term support. Upgrade those. I upgrade them every time. They do 2 drops a year. In April and in October, I update them every time, but there are some problems with that. I don't know. No real specified cadence for that. All right, let's go ahead and get Node installed just again, so we can also practice installing some more packages and learning how to get an application up and running on here. So installing distro stable version for Ubuntu. So we've already done an update. We can run another update if we want, but the update only needs to happen once. But we can run that again if we want. And then we could apt install Node.js, it looks like. Then it says we can install npm. So npm is actually Node Package Manager. It's very Node.js specific. It is a package manager for Node.js. So that's not super important. There's some stuff in here. I thought it would give me some more stuff about, well, we'll try this. I think this is going to cause problems, actually. I don't think this is going to work. But we can install it and we can fight through it. It's fun to fight through these problems. And I can tell you why I don't think it's going to work when we're done. Actually, are we on 1804? We're on 1804, aren't we? Let's see. Yeah, we're on 1804. All right. Whoops. So let's go ahead and follow what they said. They said go ahead and do an update. So I'll do an app update just so you can see what happens when you've already done one and you do another one. And we do a sudo apt update, and it lets us know that basically the same packages can be updated. It happens super fast because we've already done it. And then what does it want us to do? Then it wants us to go ahead and install Node.js. I'm highly confident this is going to break, but apt install Node.js. So we're installing a server-side scripting language. We're installing the Node runtime to be able to process information. Also wants us to sudo apt install npm. We can add these to our notes in a second. It all happens fast. I used to love when I had to do a lot of stuff manually in Linux, because this is the kind of crap that makes you feel super fancy. It's just, you type in a couple things and it does a whole bunch of stuff and you're like, I am the smartest person ever and know how to do everything. And yeah, it really is a confidence boost. It's that instant gratification. That is why I think everyone should learn Linux, because it does. It makes you feel like a hacker. It makes you feel cool. Like I typed in 3 words and a bunch of crap happened on the screen. And if people walk past and see it, they're like, "Oh my gosh, you are a wizard and you're the coolest person ever." And I don't know, that instant gratification is great. So Node.js and npm are now installed. We can check by doing Node.js-v. I think I can just do. And it installed version 8.10. Wow, that's actually an older version than I wanted. But fine. We could have also used a PPA. I think I talked about PPAs during the package manager piece of things. I forgot what PPA stands for. I think it's something package archive or something like that. I don't know. But you can use these PPAs to install things as well. They can be interesting to mess with as well. This is actually a pretty old version of. But cool. So we have it installed. So now let's see if we can go ahead and install this thing that we want to download. Actually, I'm sure this is going to break. Does it say in here what version this needs? It does not. Well, we're gonna go ahead and copy the code. I could git clone it. Actually, let's update what we've done so far first. So then we we installed Node.js 7. We installed npm. Whoops. Sudo apt install. All right. Let's see. It's a derogatory term for other OS. We are all equal opportunity stream. I never saw wind blows. That's it's funny, but Windows is cool. Windows, I'm telling you, Windows is a viable development platform now. Again, especially with the Windows subsystem for Linux, it definitely is. What's up, Qbyte7? Welcome to the stream. Thanks for joining. Site change. The only thing about having to use Wine to emulate Windows. Yeah. If you need certain programs, it's the thing that's keeping me off of Linux full time, to be 100% honest. All right, so we got those 2 things installed. What do we got next? So let's go ahead and download this code. I'm gonna download the zip instead of cloning it. And the only reason I'm gonna do that is because I don't think we've talked about a lot. I don't think we've had the Git portion of this yet. So we're just gonna download it. We know how to download things from the command line. So we're gonna put this in a new folder. So we have HTML, we have var www.html, and we're gonna make a new directory here. We're gonna say make directory app. Oops. We're gonna make a directory called app. And so now we have app and we have HTML. We're gonna put this in the app folder. Even though we actually don't need to do this at all. But sure. So we're going to wget the thing that the URL that I just grabbed from GitHub. And we got a permission denied, even though we got a success. So let's go with a sudo. Everything's downloaded. We have a master.zip file. And so how do we unzip things? We can do unzip again, masters.zip. And we cannot do that because we need to do a sudo. All right, so now we have this Node.js master.org file. Now we have a bunch of stuff here. So all the files that are right here are actually all the same files that are listed right here. They're the exact same thing. And those are just all the files necessary to run a Node.js website a web application. So I just changed into the directory that we downloaded. I'm going to run this npm install. So I guess a lot of coding languages have a paradigm similar to this. You have a package manager. You have a lot of dependencies in your code. So if you write a big application, you reference a bunch of dependencies so that you don't have to rewrite a bunch of code yourself. People have kind of written the code for you, and you can pull that code into your own project for you to use pretty easily. And so what happens is when you pull those things in Node, at least, it makes this package.json file. So look at the package.json, a bunch of stuff in here, but then there's just a list of dependencies. So this is why people hate Node, actually, because you can get into some crazy dependency problems with Node, and these packages aren't managed well, and there's security problems with all of them because of someone else's code. But these are all the packages that we need to run the application that we have here. And to install those things, we need to run an npm install. And I know this is not going to work out well. I know this is not. I shouldn't even got myself into this.
It's going to work.
It's not going to work. Sudo sudo npm install. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to install everything. It's going to run through. It's going to go through that package.json file. And it's going to install all the stuff. This is not important for you to know. This process will change with every different coding language you use. A package manager, if we were using Yarn or something else here, will be different. If we're using a different coding language, this will be different. So this is not super important, but it is important to know that an application that's running using again, a server-side scripting language, something else other than JavaScript, HTML, CSS, even though Node.js is JavaScript, you will need to basically install the runtime. So you'll need to install Node.js. You'll need to install Ruby. You'll need to install Go. Well, Go is a little bit different. You may need to install Go, but you'll probably just have an executable. Or you need to install something to help it run. And generally, it's going to have some packages that you need to install as well. Some dependencies that you're going to need to install to get it to run. Let that run. Let's see. What's up, Better Patterns? Welcome to the channel. Thank you for following. It's funny how the download bar changes in visual depending on what you're downloading. Yeah, it's very interesting. All right, so we've got all the dependencies downloaded. Let us know that we had everything downloaded. And now we can actually do npm start. And I got this from failing. If this works, I knew it. All right, so we get a permission denied down here. So that's fine. So maybe we can use sudo to do this. Now we can use sudo to do this. So
okay, go ahead.
Maybe. Nah, I'm pretty sure it's still gonna fail out. I've used Node just enough to know this is gonna be a problem. All right, so we get an exit here. No such file or directory. Build static. What happened here? Maybe it couldn't create it. So let's do something. Maybe this is a permissions thing. You know what we're about to do? We're about to do something cool. I put this in this folder. I'm actually gonna move it somewhere else just for fun. I just want to check something. I'm gonna sudo move app to my home directory. And I'm gonna cd home. I just want to see something really quick before we dive into fixing this. Sudo chown -r Ubuntu. I'm changing the owner of these files right now for the app directory. So that I'm the owner of everything. And I'm gonna do a cd app. Who owns it? I do. All right, npm start. Maybe this will work. Come on. Nope. Failed to start. Let's see. Giving us no such file again. Can it not create the directory? Let's see what we have here. Problem with your Node.js package, not npm itself. Make sure you have the latest version installed. We might have to update Node, which is super annoying. We ran into this before. We've run into this before. I think I've run into this every time I've tried to use Node. We're actually not going to spend time on this because we only have 30 minutes and we actually haven't done any of the fun stuff yet. So we're just going to grab a second site. What I was going to try to show you is that something like Node, that runs, it runs on its own server. So Express actually runs over its own port, which is 3000. And so remember how I told you that only one service could run over a port at a time? If we were using something else that ran over like port 80, because Nginx is already using that port, there will be some issues. But what you can do is you can use something like this. You can run your applications over a different port, and there are ways to proxy your ports around. There are ways to change which port something is running on. But although this is running on port 3000, if we know the web port is 80, how would we get to it? How would we consume that from the web? And so you can actually hit direct ports from the web. So even though port 80 is the port by default, I could go to our site here. And if you, at the end of the URL, if you do a colon, type in a colon and then a number, it will try to access, it'll try to make the request over that port. So if we did something like, if this was running, we would be able to get to it if the firewall was opened up at port 3000. So colon 3000, instead of going over port 80, it would now reach out over port 3000 and we would now need to see that information. But when you're delivering an application, you do not want your users to have to know that. Like, that's not important information. They should be able to go to your site and get to your application. So what we would have done is, and we still may set up something up like this if we have time, you would basically use the proxies that we learned about, those reverse proxies, and you can actually point to a port. And so we could proxy back information from port 3000 back through port 80, which is pretty cool, so that we can set up multiple applications on a server. But again, we will hop back into that. Let's just grab a second site so that you guys can see what how you would run multiple sites on the same server. And we'll see if we can get them at different domains. So we have strongly typed there. Let's go ahead and get dope trope, because this looks pretty cool. Copy link address. Let's go ahead and set up a different folder here back in /var www HTML. All right, and so we're gonna go back. Actually, we actually are gonna make a new directory. Let's call it HTML2, so that we know we have a second site folder here. wget okay, unzip. All right, so we have another site. Whoa, let's see, dude. All right, so we have a whole extra site here. So really quick, you saw me do that super fast. Don't sweat it. All I did was do the same thing the same process that we used to build out the first site. We went ahead and used that to build to download a new site for the second site. So we know that in the server root goes to var www HTML. Goes to this directory. So how would we serve something from HTML2? So let's check something real quick. Take a look at, let's see. Nginx, sites available. Let's change the server route. Let's imagine we wanted to actually point to this new site. We could change the server route. Whoops. Won't let me save it because I did not do sudo. Let's change this to HTML2. And check out our site. And if we do it, we still are seeing the same site that we're still seeing the same site that we were seeing before. Why are we still seeing it even though we changed those options? Remember, I told you configuration, we talked about this on Sunday, configuration for web servers, it gets loaded at runtime. And so for configuration, when you change the configuration, you need to either reload or restart it. Uptime, we've been on since 8. I really need to set up an uptime. I need to figure out how, I really need to figure out how long, how to add in that uptime thing. But yes, so we need to restart the server or reload the configuration. So, and this is for all web servers. If this was Apache, it would be the same thing. You make changes. It is actually for most services in Linux, period. You make changes to their main configuration files. You need to now update, restart that service or reload that service. So we're gonna do sudo service, nginx, reload. And it goes through and it kicks it right back. But it did a reload. And if I do it, now we get Dope Trope. We get a whole new site here. It looks very similar, but we get Dope Trope here, which is great. But that's not what we want to do. We actually want to host 2 separate sites. How do we do this? How are we going to set this up? Again, it's something called virtual host. So pause for a second. We're about to go into setting up 2 separate sites on the same server. And yeah, we're going to set up two separate sites on the same server. And I hope this works without me doing anything DNS related. It should, but we'll see.
Without DNS though.
Yeah, fixing it will be fun. Fixing it won't be fun. That was the Node.js stuff. What do you think about chemtrails? Chemtrails are always an interesting conversation for me because I grew up next to Andrews Air Force Base, and there's other airports like right there as well. So like I see planes like leaving trails, like I'm so used to it, and now people will like look up like chemtrails. I'm like, bro, that's a plane. That's just a plane flying. But I don't know. I don't think anything about chemtrails. To be 100% honest, we're not going on chemtrail tangents for sure. When does entering through a port come in handy? Specific port, whenever a service is running on that port that you need to access. So again, every service runs on a different port. A port can only be consumed by one service at a time. So sometimes if it hasn't been set up to where you can access this port through port 80, it hasn't been proxied back to a port that you're familiar with or that your computer will get to by default. This is, you can specify that port to be able to interact with that service. It's generally more important internally. Generally internally is when you'll be using these different ports. You usually don't expose these things to the outside world, to be honest, but for your internal systems to be able to connect to each other and to speak to each other. Mastermind Academy is brilliant. I appreciate that. I'm making the world a better place. I genuinely appreciate that. We're just having some fun. We're learning. We're all techies. We're just trying to, be able to grab all this opportunity. There's so much tech opportunity out here that we can grab. Yeah, we're just having a good time. DNS won't be an issue. Cool. Yes, I'm glad it won't. What about building 7 collapse? I don't know what that means, but I've never heard anything called 7 collapse, so I want to hear more about that. New to channel. Sorry to stop the momentum. No, you're all good. Are you teaching right now? I am teaching right now. Are you taking a coding bootcamp? Can we join you? Absolutely, you can join me. We are we're learning some DevOps. So over 12 weeks, we're learning some DevOps concepts. We're building on concepts week by week until we're, managing, large scale systems. But we're also doing a Python bootcamp. So Monday, Wednesday is Python. Sunday, Tuesday is DevOps. So check it out. Okay. All right. We got a lot of conspiracy theories here. I'm cool. I'm cool with that. We can talk about, we talk about conspiracies. I don't have any strong opinions. I don't have any strong opinions. Definitely off topic. All good. Definitely, we're not worried about that. All right. So how do we serve two sites from the same server? And so that is the reason why we have these, and what's up, Zyphonic _ is welcome. You're now following me. Oh, no, never mind. It's just an underscore. I put the is now following. Welcome to the channel. Thank you for the follow. But if we go to /etsy nginx, the reason why there's this sites available thing is because you can enable more than one site on a web server. So a web server will be kind of stupid if it can only serve one thing at a time. It has logic to be able to serve multiple things. Again, and we have the default thing here. So let's actually take a look at this default virtual host file and take a look at what it looks like. It's listing on port 80, but actually you can see here, it's actually set up to be the default server. We could actually remove that. And if we remove this, I'm actually not sure it would serve anything. Let's find out. I'm gonna remove this default server option. Forgot. I mean, okay. You know what I'm gonna do? Nope. I don't want to start bad. I don't want to start bad habits here. I could just sudo root, but I'm not going to. We're gonna remove this default server here, and we're gonna see what happens when we remove the default server. And we made a configuration change to Nginx. What do we need to do when we make a configuration change? We need to go ahead and we need to reload it. Also, I was trying to not do what I just did either. What I did to rerun that, I did not type in that reload command. This is just some more fancy Linux stuff. You can do a reverse history search by typing Control-R and typing in a command that you ran. So if I wanted to rerun a command, I can start typing it in and it'll match what I type in, and I can hit Control-R to cycle through them. I'm trying to be active about typing out all the commands so we can see what's going on. But yeah, whack. Okay. So I removed the default server. Let's see what happens. Okay, still loads. Interesting. Actually, let me hit it in a different browser. I guess it would. It looks different. Okay. Very interesting. All right, just want to make sure that would still happen. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to set that back. So why is this default server here? These virtual hosts, you can set them up to match incoming URLs, incoming. So you can do it via sites. You could do it via subdomains, a lot of different things. So I could change the server name. And let's say this website was, what was the name of our, it wasn't Dope Trope, it was Strongly Typed. So maybe our website was stronglytyped.com. We could set this up to basically only reply to requests for stronglytyped.com. Again, a lot of other things would have to be in place like DNS for this to work properly for Strongly Typed. And we could have that, but let's undo. But you can also set this up to work via subdomain. You can also set this up to work via separate URLs. So if I had stronglytyped.com and I had Dope Trope or whatever, and you know what, we can do that. We can do that locally. We can only do it locally, but let's do stronglytyped.com. We do not own this, but how can we override DNS? Host file, our local host file. So before we do that, let's actually just Google, let's Google how to host multiple sites on Nginx. Maybe something like that is what we want to do. We get a bunch of options. I generally like to look for something in the past couple years. I'm sure this first one would work, and so we'll open it up. We'll open up a few. Open up this, and we'll kind of compare. So multi-site hosting. So we get an interesting thing here. We get an interesting setup here. So paste your vhost from Nginx. So remember I called them virtual host. We can use virtual hosts to see these things. To set these things up. So right here they have the server root. So they set the location for munderground or munderground.com, and they set the server name here. So this will listen over port 80. It's not the default port for IPv4, but the server name that it's going to be looking for is going to be looking for munderground.com and www.munderground.com. So when the request comes in to the server, basically the server kind of parses out the headers, parses out the request, and if it matches one of these two things, then it will go ahead and it will try to serve this information. So basically it'll start to try to serve the files out of this root. So all this applies to munderground.com. The second one here looks like they have verd.com. So they have a second virtual host, so a new file, also listening over port 80. So everything, Nginx itself is listening over port 80. That's why these are virtual hosts. We couldn't have two separate servers listening over port 80, but they're virtual hosts. So everything's listening over port 80. You can change the port that it's listening over if you need to, but you can see here that it's not the default server. Either one's the default server. You cannot have two default servers. Only one can be the default server. And you can see here, if the server name is verd.com, it will run these blocks. So it'll try to hit the files that are here. So we can set up the same exact thing. And so let's go to stronglytype.com. Let's set that up. And I wonder if this should work just fine. And I'll do it locally. Let's change this back to HTML1 and just make sure this is working properly. Let's remove the default server for now. We'll remove this. Reload. Okay, what was I about to do? So we'll use our local machine here. Our local machine, we're gonna sudo vim /etc hosts. We're gonna mess with our host file here because we like domains, we like DNS, we like domains. All right, we're gonna do, so we have our load balancer here. Let's start a new line. What was the URL for this server? The URL for this server was, I don't know. Let's go back over here. The URL for app1 is, or the IP address is this. And what do we call that? Stronglytyped.com. So here's what we're gonna do. Now that we have that in our host file, that changed our local DNS. That means we can now, I have way too much stuff open, but I can type in, hopefully, stronglytyped.com, and we get a 404 not found. I wonder why this is. So so it looks like we are reaching a server, which is actually good. If we typed in something that didn't exist at all, like we did this.com, it would give us a site can't be reached. So we're getting an active response from a server. Remember, we talked a bit about response codes. Response codes, 200 is good. 404, the 400 series is problematic, but it is coming from Nginx and Ubuntu. So it doesn't really work here. And so let's check some things really quick. Let's take a look back at our sites available. This is over 80, var www HTML1. So that's where I made the mistake. We do not have an HTML1 folder. It's just HTML. Let's go ahead and reload. Glad I found that quickly. I really did not feel like troubleshooting that problem. So stronglytype.com, we don't own it. We don't own stronglytype.com. Actually, let's see what stronglytype goes to. Well, I already have it in my host file. I could try something else, but stronglytype.com works if we type that in locally. Let's go ahead and create another. We're going to copy this. We're gonna copy this default file. So we're gonna copy default to a file called, what was the other one called? It was called Dope Trope. The Dope Trope. So we're gonna have a new file called Dope Trope, and it's gonna be the same file basically. There are 2 files here, and we're gonna modify that to work for our second site. So our new server is gonna be dopetrope.com. Oh man, you're forgetting sudo strongly typed will now be Dope Trope. So now anytime Dope Trope, a request with the Dope Trope domain comes through this server, it will go to, where was the second location we had? We had HTML2. What's up, Shauna Dev? Welcome to the channel. Thank you for the follow. HTML2. Whoa. Most of the problems you see me have are because I have fat fingers. I'm gonna be 100% honest with you. One day they won't be fat, but right now, that's usually the cause of my problems. All right, so we have another a file in here. So we could do another reload, and it would reload. And we could go to dopetrope.com after we set it up in our Etsy host. So set up dopetrope in our Etsy host. So let's copy this one. Yeah, P. Same IP address because it's going to the same server. Dopetrope.com. And so we have that in there now. But what happens if we go to Dopetrope up here? We get strongly typed. Why are we getting strongly typed? So we're getting strongly typed because although we did set up our virtual hosts correctly, we have some things on sites available. Remember, there's a paradigm in which, although a site is available, we need to make sure sites are enabled. The Rock still has fat fingers; they don't go away. You're right. I noticed that The Rock was super lean, but his hands were like, his fingers were a little bit. It kind of hurt my feelings a little bit because I'm working on it. I mean, I told everyone that my goal for this year was to look like The Rock. So he's got thick boy fingers. So I guess maybe it'll never go away, but I don't know. Maybe they'll get some cool hand surgery. So it doesn't look like I have paws. But yeah, I mean, hey, one day. But we need to enable this site. How do we enable this site? All right, there's a site's enable directory. Remember we talked about symbolic links. So this default file here isn't actually here. It's a symbolic link. It's not real. It's symbolically linked to this site's default, the site's available file. So we'll set up one now ourselves. So now you're learning a new Linux topic here. Symbolic links. The way you do a symbolic link is ln. So let's do a man on ln really quick. And we're way behind. Makes links between files. Symbolic links are not the only type of links you can make. You can make hard links, but symbolic ones are the ones we are going to make instead of hard links because that's what we can do. So we'll do ln minus s. I never remember which one comes first, but I believe it's default. Then the path to the other one, the Nginx
right.
Sites available. I actually don't think it is. I think it's the other way. And then Dope Trope. And actually, we don't want it to be called default. We want it to be called Dope Trope. And I'm 99% sure we need to change it. What's up, Managed Chaos? Thank you for the 3 months, the 2-month streak. Appreciate it. I really do appreciate it. So I'm pretty sure this is wrong. File exists, yeah, because that's wrong. Dope Trope goes second. I never remember this ordering. So it's ln minus s. The source file, the source thing you're going to be targeting, and the symbolic link name that you want it to have. So Dope Trope. We need sudo. All right, so now we have Dope Trope here. Point it to the site's available files with Dope Trope, and now we can reload. Oh, it failed. It failed. Let's see why it failed. L-20/var log Nginx. All right. duplicate. So I checked the logs. We will learn how to parse logs in a second. But the reason it failed is because there's a duplicate default server for port 80 for the IPv6 and sites enabled dope trope. Remember, I told you there could only be one default server, which makes a lot of sense actually. So sudo dope trope. Sudo vim Why did it? I was trying to open up a new file. So we just need to remove this default server block here. No big deal. No big deal at all. And let's go ahead and let's reload. All right, and kick us back out. So let's see if now when we go to Dope Trope, it sends us over to Dope Trope. So now we have two things. We have dopetrope.com, and this is only going to work for me locally. It's not going to work for you unless you set up your host file with the IP that I gave you. And we have stronglytyped.com. So we have two services that our engineers are going to be using. Now let's finally update this and let's write the quickest bash script that we've ever written because it's 9:56. We always go long here. We can take our time a little bit. So we can remove this. We can say download dope trope, site files, to new server root. And then we can say, update, add, virtual host to Nginx or Dope Trope. All right. Now we've done this manually. We have a server set up manually that does this. What if we wanted more of these things? Let's go ahead and start scripting out this configuration. Even though this isn't a ton of configuration, it wouldn't take that hard. It wouldn't be that hard to do manually. It would be annoying to have. It would be annoying, and there are easier ways to do it. So let's just go ahead and let's script this out. Let's script out being able to set up this exact server so that we can spin up a new server, throw the script on there real quick, and it set all this stuff up for us. Yes, the Nginx -t will do it'll do a test config, right? It'll check it. So sudo Nginx -t. I think it'll test the config. What is this? Is this spitting out? What is this? I don't know what this is. Let's see what it is. How do we see what that is? Let's go to man Nginx. Where's the capital T? Oh, but it dumps configuration. So it is the test, but it dumps out the configuration. All right, makes sense. So you can test it before restarting it, which is nice. This is what runs if you do a reload or restart. It does this first, basically, so that it doesn't break everything. Let's go ahead and let's script this out really quick. So let's get out of here. We're gonna write it on this file. Let's go to our home directory. Tilde is a shortcut for home. If you did not already know, you'll see me use that a lot. So we're gonna vim. We're gonna call this startup server.sh. So we're gonna write a cool bash script. What's the first thing we need at the top of a bash script? We talked about it. It is the shebang. What does the shebang do? It tells the computer which process to execute this code with. So we're gonna do /bin/bash because yes, keep it very basic. All right, let's look at what the things we need to do are. So we need to update the server. So I think it's cool if we let people know what we're doing. So we're gonna say echo updating server. And how do we update a server? We do sudo apt update. Cool. And so sudo apt update should run. And so we can practice that here. If we want, we can make this executable. And we could run that just to see that this works. It is common practice. I think when you're writing bash scripts, especially if it's gonna be a lot of stuff, I think you should test the pieces individually. You can try to write it all, but it becomes harder to debug at that point. When you get to good chunks of functionality, I will go ahead and check those things. So it spits out updating server and it goes ahead and it updates. So it looks like we've done the first piece successfully. We've knocked one off off of our list super duper fast. So cool. We did that. Now we can say we need to install Nginx, and we want to say, all right, echo server up to date. Let's get Nginx installed. One echo. We're just putting echoes for fun. It's good to. I think it's good for scripts, especially to have it let the user know exactly what it's doing. Yeah, it's nice to know what's going on. So then we do sudo apt install Nginx, because that is what is in our notes. Very simple. So this part should be very simple. It'll get a little bit more fun in a second. Cool. So we'll go ahead and we will save this, and we'll see. We can run it. It should basically run through and not really do anything because Nginx is already installed. It says installing Nginx, and it runs through. It's already installed, so it doesn't install anything, which is nice. So we've done one, and we've done two. Super simple, very simple. We did stuff like this in the first bash scripting lab. Now, download the static site files to server root. So how do we do that? Let's go ahead. To server root. So we have a couple of options here. We know that we can use either curl or wget. We've been using wget, so we'll go ahead and use wget. The problem is, you know what? We'll leave it at that. Nope, there's no problem. We'll use wget. We need to go ahead and install this. So we can do, there's ways to make spacing on here. We're not gonna worry about that right now. I'll leave this up to you to make it even better later, but we're gonna do echo, downloading app1 website files. And we can go ahead and we can use our wget to download it. But the thing that's important to know is we need to get this file. We need to get the files from this, from wherever we download it to, into the server root. We wrote this here. We says download static files to server root. So we do not have to put it there immediately. So let's go ahead and wget first. And we have dope trope here. What's the first thing we downloaded? Strongly typed. Let's grab this again, copy link address, and this will get our site files. So I'm gonna say download website files and put them, and putting them, let's say, not putting, and extracting them to document root. All right, so we're gonna download it, and let's start using a little bit more of our tools. So we wanna make sure it downloads first before we can unzip it. So we'll download it, and then let's say, and. So we wanna make sure this finishes first and gives us an exit code. And we want to use our unzip command. And unzip can actually unzip to a specified destination. So we are gonna put this in /var. Actually, so we're gonna unzip download, and then I believe with unzip the command to specify directory is -d, and then /var/www/html. On wget, do you need sudo? So I would not need sudo on the wget the way that I'm doing it now, because right now I will be downloading it to the directory that I'm in now, which is home. But I would need it on the unzip because I'm trying to put it in a different directory. We could throw sudo on both of these just to make sure. You kind of only want to put sudo on things that you know you need them on. Right now, we probably wouldn't need it on this, but we would definitely need it on the unzip. I believe -d is the right answer, and let's check. Man, unzip. Like unzip to a different directory. Yeah. Pretty sure. So I think it's /d. I could just look for /d. I mean, Yeah, it's SG. Cool. So let's go ahead and let's do that. All right, so it should put it in /var www HTML. And you know what? It's fine because this is a server. We can actually check to make sure this works. We can actually remove everything from var www HTML and we can test it. No reason not to. We're trying to write the script to make sure it works. r/var www HTML / I'm gonna remove everything that's in this directory. I can't do it. All right, so let's go ahead and run our script to see. Just to confirm, we have nothing in var www HTML. Wow. Nothing's in there. Let's go ahead and run our script and see what we get. You have to install unzip first. Great memory, excellent memory. I was going to show you that we did not follow the things in our script. We do have to install unzip first. This is going to work for us. It would have worked for us if we added in this, like, super annoying. This is not something that you'll generally have to do. This has to do with this site for some reason, and the way that it's having you download these things. But yes, we would have to install unzip first, and we would find that out when we went to the new server. But we do need to install it. We do need to install it. Let's see. We need to add in this stupid. No check certificate thing. And let's go ahead and let's install unzip. I'll capitalize it just for fun, for funsies, and for style points. Sudo apt install. Wow. All right, sudo apt install unzip. We'll go ahead and get unzip installed. Then we'll go ahead and download site number 1 or application number 1. And let's see if this works. So very simple. Again, this automation isn't crazy. Like we're basically putting in a file the same commands that we ran manually. It doesn't have to be anything wild. And again, this is if you're here trying to learn how your organization can do DevOps, this is where you start. You start with just automating one thing. Like, you find one thing that you can automate and go ahead and run through that. So now if we ll/var www HTML, you can see here we have files here. We have everything that we need right here. We have the index.html. This is the unzipped version of the site, which is great. What's up, Not a Pumpkin? Welcome. Thank you for the follow. Welcome to the channel. Cool. So we've done that now. Wait. There we go. So we've done that. So we've actually, this is everything we needed to install the first site, basically, to get everything in place. I think we should go ahead and install the second site first, and then worry about the Nginx configuration, because we already have this functionality here. Let's go ahead and utilize this functionality to go ahead and do that as well. The JR so good, yeah. It's I meant to change it, but when I saw it, I liked it. I need to change the sub one from away from that zombie to something a little bit cooler. All right, so let's go ahead and get app2 installed. We can utilize the exact same thing here. We'll copy it. You're right. You are correct. Maybe something like updating apt sources, maybe. You are correct. Words are important. You are not updating your server. You are not updating the things on the server when you run an update. You are updating apt, pulling in the latest source information for what you're doing. So yes, it absolutely is misleading. Keep calling out stuff like that. I love that. You always forget all the stupid nomenclature and stuff you pick up over time that's not correct, and you just keep repeating it. People will commonly say update the server, and you will do that, and it is not updating the server. Server up to date. I like that. There we go too. This is also server up to date. Gotcha. App sources up to date. Sure. 100%. You are absolutely correct. Also unzip. Well, yes, we could tar it up. We're using unzip for the zip files. Linux does prefer archives. I prefer archives, but we are keeping it simple with what people know. You're right. There's always a whoa. The Baltimore police helicopter is landing on top of the Baltimore police station, and it was uncannily loud just now. All right. So we got the first thing installed. So let's go ahead and install app 2. Actually, let's make it, instead of app 1, we'll say the actual thing, which is strongly typed .com website files. And what is app 2 was dope trope. All right, so people know exactly what it is. We'll need to go ahead and change this URL to whatever the dope trope one is. Let's scroll down a bit and copy link address and paste it. All right, so this should give us this, but if we did this and we unzipped it, it would go into var www HTML. It would basically muddy up that directory. We know that we're serving this out of a different directory, which is HTML2 or whatever we wanted it to be. Today it's going to be HTML2. So what do we need to do first? The first thing we need to do is we need to make that directory. So we can add it right into here. Just this is not how I would actually do it, but we can do it here. So you do and sudo mkdir, and maybe I'll put it in the thing up there, /var /www/html2 and unzip. So create HTML2 creating. This isn't a comment. This is an output. Creating HTML2 folder and downloading dopetrope.com website files. Extract them. You could do these separately. Ain't no big deal. We're just messing around. Narakuwao, welcome. Thank you for the follow. Welcome to the channel. Yes, unzip does have a command to create a directory if it doesn't exist. That is absolutely true. That we could utilize in this instance. So let's save that. Let's run it again. Whoa, okay. So basically it's asking me this because there's already stuff there, which is annoying. There's not that many things there, is there? We can control C this. We can simply remove. Because there's already things there, you do have to be careful with this when you are creating. I mean, when you're doing scripts like this and you're testing like this, overwriting files and things like that. Basically, it was just asking me, saying files are already where I'm unzipping to. Do you want me to overwrite them or not? So I'm just gonna remove that stuff. I'm gonna remove HTML2 as a whole, and let's go ahead and run this bad boy again. Unzip -d. Oh, really? I thought you needed another command in unzip to, because we're already doing unzip -d. I can remove. You know what? Check this out. Let's go ahead and run both of these again. Why? Let's remove HTML2. Let's do this. Let's run it again, and let's go ahead and remove that mkdir. If you're saying we don't need it, I don't think I knew that. I didn't know that. I don't think I knew. I did not know that. If because we already have the -G to specify where it's going to go into. But yeah. Let's see what happens. Save us some time. Make our code a little more. Yeah, that did work. So looks like the unzip command, if you tell it where to unzip, if that directory does not exist, it will go ahead and it will create it for you, which is pretty nice, actually. I like that. So it looks like we have our files of our www HTML. Wow. So we have our stuff in HTML. We have our stuff in HTML too. Now, here's the hard part, and not hard part at all, but here is the part that we haven't done. Don't forget cleanup. Oh, I like that. Yes. So you can see here that we have all these download files. So we've been downloading them here, and we have been we've been moving them over to where they. We're unzipping them to where they go to. We should clean that up. I like that. Let's add that in first before we worry about the Nginx configuration. So let's clean them up. Let's clean them up at the end. So I could clean up. They're both going to be called download, which can get a little weird. But it looks like they just append a dot on them. So what we can do here is actually, let's just go ahead and, let's, at the end, how do we remove things? We can say echo removing download files, removing zip files, and we can go ahead and remove those. So rm-rf. They're called download. We know they're going to be called download because we're downloading them from our servers. And we can just do a star in case there are more than one. We just go ahead and do this. Hopefully you don't have anything else in here that is called download. We could save the file name and remove it. Again, they're both going to be called download, but it's going to add on an extension because they're both going to be called download. I could remove one after here, could remove one here. I could write a function that removes them and just call the remove function when I need to do that. If we were doing multiple things, I would do that. There's cleaner ways to script always. But yeah, we'll go ahead and we'll just clean this stuff up. And I'm just going to remove it right now. Download star. All right. So now let's worry about this Nginx configuration. This is the fun part. Well, not fun part, but we need to get the configuration that we have to be set up on servers. So there's a couple ways you can do this. Those configurations that we have set up now, those virtual hosts, work. They're server agnostic. There's nothing in there that ties them to this server that they're on currently. So we can actually take those files and save them somewhere. So we can save them up to an S3 bucket, or save them to another server that we can download them from later at runtime, or we could package them up with this script. And include them with this script and copy them into place. And I think that's what we'll do just for fun now. We'll create our own zip file for this, and we'll go ahead and package these things up. So first things first, let's go ahead and create a directory. I want to create a quick directory with these things. Actually, no, I don't need to. Let's get out of here. And let's copy over those virtual host files. The two virtual host files we have are /etc nginx. What is it? Sites available. And we have two things here. We have dope trope and default. So we'll copy dope trope here. So the dot means this location. So copy this source file to this location, which is here. And we'll copy in default. All right. So we have default here and dope trope here. So we have configurations that we need. And we can look at both of them. And we can see here that this is the strongly typed one that we care about, and we can see that we can cat dope trope. And we can see that dope trope is the other one that we need. So we know where they need to go. Nginx configuration by default always goes in the same place. We can go ahead and move these files directly to those places. So we can add into our script. We can say, all right, we've downloaded everything. We've cleaned up these things. We can say echo copying Nginx virtual hosts into place. You would have a better thing than that. But how will we do that? Very simply, we would use the copy command. Very simply, we can move them. You could move them, or you can copy them. We're going to copy them in case we need to use them later. And so we're going to copy default. We're going to go ahead and copy them into, we're going to give them better names. So the other one has dope trope. This one has, we're going to rename this one. We're going to copy this to /Etsy/Nginx/sites available /strongly typed. We're going to give it an actual name. We're going to rename it to strongly typed. Run this process. And then we're going to also copy dope trope to the same spot. So Etsy/Nginx/sites available /dope trope, even that's what it'll be called, /dope trope. So we'll go ahead and do that. We're probably going to need a sudo because we're going to be doing this as the Ubuntu user, as the user that's logged in by default, because we're going to be running this immediately upon entering the server. So we'll do that. And then after we do that, we need to go ahead and create the links that we need to create. Thoughts on when to use shell script versus something like Ansible? So that is a great question. I almost don't, even if you are using shell scripts, you can use something like Ansible to manage them and invoke them. I think if you can at all use a tool like a configuration management tool to manage these things, you should be using those things. We will get there. We're absolutely getting to, we're using Ansible in a few weeks. We're learning how to do it manually first, but I much prefer using a tool like Ansible. This would not be the ideal way to do things, to be 100% honest with you. Cool. You do courses or anything on DevOps? Well, I don't know if that's to me, but if that's to me, this is a DevOps bootcamp. We are in week academy.mastermind.io. This is exactly what this is. This is an entire course on DevOps. So we're just working from the bottom. Meant like something I can go back and pick up. Yeah. If you go to the YouTube, there's a playlist with all of the, starting from the beginning. There is absolutely starting from the very beginning, there's a playlist you can go through. But yes, Ansible would be a lot easier for this. And this is why it's going to be fun when you get to Ansible. People who learn Ansible first without ever having done this are like, they don't know their true power once they get there. So it's always so interesting. So let's quickly set up the things that we need to set up. We need to also set up, we need to enable them. So we're going to sudo ln -s. It was taken off again. ln -s for symbolic link. And we would basically do copy, paste. We would do strongly the source. The destination would be sites enabled. And then same thing here. Sudo, it's ln, not ls. And we'll paste this in. We'll change this to sites enabled. And this will create those symlinks to actually enable them. And the last thing that we need to do, very simply, is we got everything in order. We need to reload Nginx. So echo reloading Nginx. And we can do sudo service Nginx, reload. All right, so now I think we have everything we need. A lot of stuff, pretty simple. A pretty simple script here. This is not the best script. There are ways we could do this better. There are things we were performing multiple times that we could change. But we have a script here that I think we could run and would be good. So let's spin up a new server really quick. And actually, we already did it. So actually, we're saving ourselves a little bit of time. Remember, we ran through really quickly and we set up a new server, which is this one, which is going to be app2. Which is going to be app2. And we're gonna move that over. So right now, I'm gonna copy and paste it. There are better ways to move this. Again, think about some ways that you can move files from one server to another. Let's say we wanted to get, actually, no, I'm gonna pull it down locally. If you wanna move a file from one server to another, we can use tools like FTP or SCP. We're gonna be using SCP here to move these files over. So we've written this file. I probably should have written it locally, no big deal. I'm gonna copy it from this server. Actually, let's make a zip first. We have 3 files we need. We actually need all 3 of these things to be able to run this. So let's zip them all up. So you can use the zip command to zip them up. I could tar them as well, but since we did unzip and we're using zip files, let's go ahead and let's zip this up. So let's zip default, dope trope, and startup. So the zip command, you specify all the things you want to zip up. Actually, you specify the name of the zip first. So I can call this just script.zip, and then you specify all the different things that you want to put in there. And wow, I forgot zip doesn't come. That's why we should have actually been using tar, but I didn't know that. Let's install zip. So now the very first thing we will have to do is install zip as well. If we want to, no, we don't need to install zip because we have unzip. We're installing unzip. We'll do that manually. That's fine. No big deal. We have our zip file here. Where is it? Oh, it did not let me do it because all I did was install zip. All right. So now we should have a new file. We have a script.zip. Let's copy this down locally to our local machine. I'm going to log out. I'm going to run I'm going to download this. What is it? Script.zip. And we're going to use SCP. So SCP is secure copy or shell copy, secure shell copy. I don't know. One of those things. And it's used to copy from a remote machine to your machine or your machine to a remote machine using SSH. So I do this. It's going to download. Now I have this locally to my computer. I have this script.zip right here, and I can use this to copy up to other computers. So let's go ahead and get the IP address for app2. We've never logged into app2. Let's go ahead and get the IP address for it. Let's log into it really quick. First let's copy our file to it. So let's copy a file up to it. So we're going to do SCP -I for our identity file. So we can specify which SSH key we're using. Then we specify the file that we want to copy, which is script.zip. And then Ubuntu, our user, at this IP address. And then we have to tell it where to copy this to. We're copying it to our home directory. I know I'm going pretty fast here. Thanks for the sub, Not a Pumpkin. Appreciate it. I don't think I thanked you on that. Why do you sudo commands not require a password? Oh, great. D-Flare, that's an excellent question. Excellent question. Excellent for you noticing. So I'm gonna copy this up really quick. The reason why my sudo commands in my server doesn't ask me for a password is because Amazon by default does not use any passwords. It only uses SSH keys. So there's actually no password for me to use. So it is set up in a way that my will user just can assume sudo access. This is a paradigm that exists for cloud computing, to be honest, because of the way it's set up, because it's trying to use keys to be secure rather than passwords. Locally on your computer, that will not be the case. It'll allow you to do some commands. There'll be a timeout after you type in your password before it'll ask you again. But that is a phenomenal question. Definitely, that's a spicy one right there. But it's because you don't have a password in Amazon. That's why. So that copied it on up. Let's go ahead and SSH into this server now that we have our file that we need. You can see here how similarly SSH and SCP is. So now we're in, and let's see if our file made it up here. And our file made it up here. It sucks because I forgot that we're not going to have unzip by default, and maybe we shouldn't have zipped this up this way. But I'm going to go ahead and install unzip. And actually, I'm going to turn it into a tar. If it doesn't let me install unzip without updating first, I'm going to install tar. I mean, not install tar. I'm going to tar it up locally instead, but it looks like it's working. Why do we store the files there and not just on Git? We preferably absolutely install them on Git. Only reason we're not installing them on Git, again, layers, in that we've learned how to move files around via SCP and learn how to like zip things up and compress files together. We have not learned Git yet, and that's the only reason. That this is, to be clear, the way that we are doing things is not the best way to do things. The way that we're going to be doing things for most of the course, again, is just to gradually use the things that we've been using, but it is not the best way to do them. Git would be the best option. Simply clone them down on the machine. We will certainly get there. What's up, Code Serial? Yep, Code Serial. Thank you for the follow. Appreciate it. So cool. So let's go ahead and unzip this. So we know that this server, if we paste in IP address, should give us nothing. It should give us nothing because for two reasons. One, I don't think we ever opened up the firewall or the security group to allow this. So remember, there's a firewall in AWS at least to allow for port 80. So let's go ahead and do that before we forget. Allow for port 80. And we'll save that. So now port 80 is open, but this still will fail because there's no web server running. There's no service running over port 80. So that won't do anything. So now is when we can truly see if our script works. It doesn't have Nginx installed. How can we confirm everything? We can do again, netstat, just to confirm, to open, to see what's running. Nothing's running over port 80 here. Nothing over port 80. So let's go ahead, and we've unzipped our script, and no, we didn't unzip it. Unzip script.zip, and we have them here. So let's go ahead and let's run this and see if our script works. So far, so good. It said updating. I probably should have put some weights in here just so you could see what was happening. Excellent. This is our first interesting thing. So it's asking us for yes or no. And yes, it's asking us for yes or no, if we want to install it or not. I can go ahead and hit yes now, but we kind of want this, we kind of want scripts to be able to work by themselves. So I'm going to stop this script. The way, I actually completely forgot about this, but the way that we would do this is we can actually give it a yes or no. So if you have something and it tries to install something, you can specify no if you want. But the way that we can install it is give it a -y at the end. If you give it a -y, it passes in this yes command. We can do this for all the installations. We can pass this in there. So great. No, I'm not doing yes again because you guys tricked me last time and I didn't know yes was a thing. Actually, I'll show you. If you type in yes, it will just pass in Y until you end it. It's a tool to just pass in Y. I didn't know. That's cool. It was fun to learn that and see what you see. I knew what it was because I've been bitten by it before. But let's go ahead and run it now that we've added in these -ys. And maybe this time we can tar this up instead of doing that. Okay, so it's running through. Look at that. It ran through a bunch of stuff. It looks like it, put some stuff in HTML2. Copying Nginx virtual host into place. Cannot create regular file. Strongly typed. So that failed. And it couldn't create a symbolic link for strongly typed. Why not? Simply a spelling error in here. Nginx sites available and sites enabled. So we do have this. So let's go ahead and fix that, and let's fix that really quick. Bam. I should have caught that. I should have proofread what I was doing. So site's available. We're not gonna run this again though. For a number of reasons. We're gonna just run this command. So we're gonna run this on the third server now that we've kind of gotten this all worked out. All right, and okay, so now, if I refresh this, it's now going to give me a site, and it's only going to give me this site. So let's go ahead and modify our host file so that we can use this server as the thing that we can use. So we can check it and make sure it's serving up both things. Sudo vim etihost. Let's go ahead and we'll just replace the. What? All right. So cool. So we have dope trope and this other one here. So now let's type in incognito window and we do dopetrope.com. We get strongly typed, which we shouldn't. And if we type in strongly typed, we also get strongly typed. So it doesn't look like we're set up properly. Let's see if we can figure out what's wrong with our server. Let's click back in. Let's go to SC, Nginx. We obviously have some logic wrong. So sites available. What's in here? We do have dope trope. We do have strongly typed. Oh, okay. I think I know what's going on here. But what about, let's just check our sites enabled. Dot. So okay, so we're missing a one of them didn't work. One of the, what are those things called? Symbolic links didn't work. Let's check our script. All right, so dope trope is the one that we pasted and it worked. Oh, but this is the one that, no, did I copy and paste this one? Oh, copy default, you strongly typed, and oh, that was dumb. I did not fix the right thing here. Copy and paste. All right, we just got some spelling errors. Make sure you're cognizant of spelling errors while we are messing with this, just so it'll be faster, so we can see this work fully on a brand new, fresh server. What we will do is we'll make our last app server for our third person launch more like this. Launch. SSH test. Launch. So we got a third server spinning up right now that we're going to be able to run this on. Looks good. Still has all the same rules that we care about. All right, so we have some changes that we've made to this. Let's go ahead and use another way to archive these. So we have that script.zip. Let's go ahead and make let's actually use tar. So just so you know what tar is, tar is an archiving utility. Tar is one of the things that you'll have to Google very, very often on how to extract things properly, the right things you need to pass in to make things work. It works with a lot of different things, file extensions, etc. You can make kind of different type of archives with this, different type of compression methods, etc. But this is also just a way to kind of package up things you can compress, not compress, all kinds of stuff. So tar, what is, so actually let's look at some of the options that we have here, some of the common ones that we're going to be using. So where is because actually some of them that I use, some of them that I use, I don't know what they do. Extract. So extract is how you. So X is you'll commonly see someone if you need to extract a file, you'll do a dash X is a common one. V for verbose to kind of see exactly what's happening. Z I believe is for a anything that is compressed to be able to extract those properly. F is a common one, and I think that is to pass in the file that you want. I don't know what the Z does, but I think C is to compress. So I think I can do something like this. Then I can do something like tar CVF, and I think I can call it script dot tar dope trope default and startup, and it does that. And now I have this script.tar file. There's so many options with that. Play with that. We're gonna use a tar file instead. We're gonna copy that tar file down to use that so that we don't have to install zip beforehand. So now we have a working thing there. Let's see. Uh, 10x Cole, thank you for the sub. I appreciate it. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to the family. Glad to have you. Heads up, you could also use scp-r to copy a directory recursively. Yes, if you don't feel like going the extra step, absolutely. Just trying to mess with some more of our tools here. And so what Code Serial is letting us know that we also, the same way that we could copy directories in Linux. So let's say we make a directory called test and in test touch test slash file1.txt. I could copy this file and everything else into a different place. So if I wanted to copy test into, I mean, you shouldn't do this, but copy it into the .ssh folder. It's not going to copy it. It's omitting it because it's a directory. It's going to ignore the directory. You have to tell it to do so recursively because there are things in this directory. A -r would allow me to copy that. I could basically, actually, that's a good idea. I'll just copy recursively so we don't even need to tar everything up. Let's log into the new server. So what they're saying is, I mean, what Code Serial is saying is that I can unzip this script.zip right here. And I'll make a quick directory for it. Script, and I'll copy in startup into script. Where did it create it? I'll copy in, what do I need? I need default. I could have copied them all in one line, but I don't know why I didn't. All right, so now I have this script directory. Got a bunch of stuff in here. It's got not a bunch of stuff, the three things that we care about the most. Let's check out that new server that spun up. So let's go to our EC2 dashboard. We made a new thing. Which one's the new one? Darn it. It didn't allow me to change the name. It's 54. Let's change this to app 3. Let's get this IP address. And we'll copy this up first. So we can do Control R to get back to our last SCP command. And we will do, I think I can put the -r after this. I did before. So instead of copying script.zip, we're going to copy in script up to this new IP address. And it's the first time we're connecting because it's a new server. And we click yes, and it copies those files up. You can see here, it copies all those things up. Now let's go ahead and let's SSH into this server. And now that we're inside, we can see that now there's script directories here. We can move into it. I don't think we did anything. Directory specific. Let's go ahead and let's run this script as is, and let's see if it finally works for us to be able to get a server up from 0 to hero with everything installed on it. We didn't make the updates. We did not make the updates in these files, which sucks. I wish we had done that. But that should be no big deal. It didn't install anything, so do it here. Run it. And it runs through, and it's super nice, and it's taking care of everything for us. It's getting stuff installed. It looks fancy. And we forgot to update the spelling error. Sorry, I'm rushing because we are way over time, but that and these. And this is why you would use, this is why you wouldn't move them around by hand. This is why it's best to use, another reason why it's best to use version control. Once we got things fixed, we would push those things up to version control, something like Git, and then we could use that to pull down the files that we need. This is, let's go ahead. All we got to do to make this work, like to see it actually run, is to rmrf with sudo rm-rf /sites /var www html2 and everything that's in HTML. We're running one last time. We should see it work properly, I hope, but if not, we're looking forward to more. Got to bounce. All right, to the next code. Appreciate you stopping by. I'll see you later. Cool. So it looks like it failed out because one file was already there. I didn't remove that symbolic link. Let's see if the other one worked. Nginx, sites enabled. All right, so we may have to remove this default one. I wonder how that's going to catch things. But either way, let's go ahead and take this IP address. Darn it. Give me the external. Copy this IP address. Let's go ahead and let's fix that in our host file. So we did that. And now we should just be able to go to our sweet websites, which is stronglytyped.com. And so that goes to the right thing. And hopefully Dopetrope also goes to dopetrope.com. So it's strongly typed. This is probably from the default. Let's check and see. Let's disable this. So cd / Etsy Nginx sites enabled. Unlink. I'm gonna unlink default. Basically, this means I don't even have to delete because of this, it's just a symlink. I don't even have to delete, I do not have to delete the file. I just simply have to unlink it, and I can do sudo service nginx reload. All right, let's see if that works. Maybe it'll work, maybe it's not. Maybe we broke everything. Oh, what, oh. Did I download the same thing twice? What do we do wrong here? So,
Getting tired.
I'm getting tired. Let's see, strongly typed right here. Hold on, I'm just making sure. HTML2. Oh, it does work. I copied the same thing into both directories. Watch this. Strongly typed. It's gonna be the same site, but I'm gonna change the I'm gonna change the words. Yeah, weekly typed. Yeah, there we go. And I don't even need to restart it because this is not configuration. This is the site itself. The Dopetrope is going to be, oh, actually that was not the, that was not the actual HTML, was it? That wasn't the tag. That was the title of the page. But here's where I have to change it. The H1. No. Weekly. All right, now because we changed it in the right place, now it's weekly typed. So they are two different sites. We copied the wrong site in. But that is 1050. Yeah, that was more. I wanted to do more than that, but this is what happened last time. Last time we ran this, it actually went for like 4.5 hours. So that's what I was trying to cut it down. I thought if we just flow through it, it'll work better, but it did not. It did not flow better. Let's see. Unzip using the same download file, so both the sites are the same. Oh, yeah, using the same download. That's what I did. My comments above Nginx complained about the configs. It looks like Nginx failed reloading configs for some reason. So can you paste can you do an Nginx dash lowercase t and let me know what's going on. The background song. See, usually when I have my headphones on, as soon as the song gets words in it, I hit next because it throws me off. I heard the words, but it would have messed me up if I did hear saying, tell me what you want while I'm trying to struggle through Nginx. Oh, when I ran the script, yeah. So when I ran this, when I ran it, the reason it was complaining, let me go up. The reason it was complaining when I ran it is because it actually wasn't, Nginx wasn't complaining. The command to create the symbolic link was failing because the file already existed. So it was just kind of letting me know that, but it still reloaded Nginx. This didn't work. It stopped with an error code. I actually don't know why it stopped with why it didn't reload with an error code. Interesting. Let's see. So is there still a problem? Cool. This is great. So we have something we need to debug. Let's see. Permission denied. Could not open error file. Oh, that sucks. Sudo. The configuration file is fine. Oh, that's weird. Maybe that's why. Did I not use a sudo for the reload? No, I use sudo here. I wonder what I did before. Maybe it was because I didn't move. I don't know. Maybe I didn't change something. But it looks like it's working. Job for Nginx service failed. Unlinking removes a symbolic link. So a link that's just symbolic. It removes a symbolic link. I could have also removed it, I believe, but unlink removes a symbolic link. So yeah, I would assume that when you reload the strongly typed page now, it would also show the weakly type now. You think so? Let's see. Possibly. And it shouldn't. I have them pointed at two different directories. Oh, you reloaded Nginx. Gotcha. I gotcha. Makes sense. I gotcha now. Yeah, chat and what I'm doing mismatch. Sorry about that. Yes, I do think it would have shown that before. So it's showing two different sites, but what are the takeaways from tonight's lab? The takeaways are, one, start to think about, a lot of what we're going to be doing in DevOps is focusing on automation. And so think about the things that we've done manually, learn how to do a lot of stuff manually. But what we were able to kind of see tonight, and it wasn't great. And this is kind of how the job is really going to go. We can start to do very simple things to automate these things. We can just start to script out some tasks that might be repetitive. We have developers coming on, and each of them needs some things set up that we've set up a few times manually. Let's go ahead and start to script these things out and automate them. Again, there are better ways to automate them, things like Ansible and other things, which is great. But knowing how to do these things manually really does help. But start thinking about automation. Start thinking about how we learned about web servers and load balancers. Now you know that you can use virtual hosts, these virtual hosts inside of web servers. So if you're using Apache, it actually has the same paradigm to be able to host multiple websites from the same server. So look into that, check out virtual host, and kind of make sure you understand that paradigm. I was hoping to do some stuff with certificates tonight, but that obviously was too ambitious. Also, just a few little add-ons that will help you during your automation phases. Is one, remember how we try to install things, and when it would ask us for output during the script, you could put it in manually, but that's not something you generally want to do with a script. You usually want to have it kind of run off and do its thing. Remember that you can pass in like -y's to do just that. Remember that when you are writing these automation scripts, remember that you can tell people what's going on in the script with these echoes. There are way better ways. There are better ways to make sure people can see those things. We kind of just ran through and made it hard to read, but there are ways to make those things matter. Yeah, and also we didn't get to go back on the load balancer stuff, but again, I think web servers are what are important so far. What we've learned, understanding a web server and kind of how web servers work, understanding they're used to route traffic around to manage traffic, understanding your basic Linux concepts. And how you can use those basic Linux concepts to automate things to make your life easier. Even in that case, we could use a lot of the programming skills that we learned during the first 2 weeks with Go, but we can use things like loops, like functions, and conditionals to add some logic to these scripts to determine. We could make the script a lot better, and we could make it so that we would check to see if Nginx is installed before trying to install it, or making sure that the symbolic link didn't already exist, and if and setting it up only if it doesn't exist. And we could use these things to add some functionality around what we did. But yes, we spent the second and the third class learning Golang, the basics of programming with Go. Those are in the YouTube playlist as well. Go is my favorite programming language. It's a good programming language for DevOps. A lot of DevOps tools are built in it. I think it's also good if you're really trying to learn how to code, not if you're just trying to get up and running and just do some stuff. If you're really trying to learn how to code properly, I think it's an excellent first language to learn because of some of I think learning a statically typed language first is very beneficial if you're really trying to learn how to program. And it's an easy one to do. Yeah, I read this score changed from Go to another language entirely. Oh, interesting. I wonder what they moved to. I bet they moved to something like Rust. Who knows? I don't know. But cool. Yeah, I'm gonna push this stuff up to GitHub. So if you're not following my GitHub, feel free to follow it. We throw random stuff up there all the time. We will start throwing up more serious things once we get to the Git section. Let's see. I'll paste it. Actually, I think you can just do. Oh, so they are moving to Rust. Didn't know, called it. I feel like anyone who's moving away from Go is probably going to Rust, to be 100% honest. So actually GitHub. So you have my GitHub. Wow, that didn't work. GitHub. So I should give you the GitHub. And then actually let's just talk about what we're going to learn now. So Checkpoint Lab. Again, there's a lot of stuff, and we're trying to cram 5 weeks of stuff into one class. So went okay. But now we're getting into I think what is the first huge chunk of what DevOps currently is, what the industry currently is, and that is cloud computing. So I don't necessarily think you have to learn AWS. We're just going to be demonstrating the basics of the cloud with AWS, just because it's probably the most in demand. It's the most in demand cloud platform right now. So we're gonna do basically 4 classes of cloud concepts. We're gonna dive into a lot of stuff. We're gonna do some serverless stuff. We're gonna run through all the basics of AWS as well. We're gonna get hands-on, spin up servers, spin up resources, all that stuff. We're gonna do this manually. We are not. So we're gonna do everything manually. Then we're going to get into the infrastructure as code piece. So someone talked about Ansible. We're going to learn how to use all the new tools, to use the cloud, to use these new automation tools, to do all the stuff that we've been doing manually, writing scripts for. Like writing this script is going to feel like running that script is going to feel manual to you once you learn infrastructure as code and how you can manage these packages, manage files, manage resources, manage configuration using things like configuration management tools and provisioners. So we'll get there. Then we'll be on the containers. We'll learn some Kubernetes, some Docker, some Kubernetes. 2 parts Docker, 2 parts Kubernetes. You will not be a Kubernetes expert. You might be pretty good at Docker when we're done. You will not be a Kubernetes expert when we're done with this, but you will have an understanding of what it is, how it's used. You'll be able to talk about it in an interview. You'll understand at a very high level what Kubernetes is, and you'll have seen it be done. Then we'll hop into some CI/CD with Circle CI. We might switch to GitHub Actions, but I doubt it because I still have yet to get GitHub Actions to work for what I was trying to use it for. Monitoring, logging, and then we'll talk to some people about some stuff. So cool. It is. So thank you, Coaster, for the follow on the GitHub. But yeah, you're right. AWS, it just is the most in demand. We'll probably dive into other ones as the courses go on, but like right now, I think the most pertinent for the DevOps course, at least, is the AWS stuff. And thank you, D Flair. Go ahead and study. I appreciate you stopping through for the streams. I really appreciate it. All right, long stream tonight. Who are we gonna raid though? We gotta raid somebody. Like after all this time, we gotta raid someone. Who are we raiding? Who's on tonight? The Primigan's on as usual. We'll head over to the Primigan. What's he doing tonight? Let me check. He's doing some HTTP 2 implementations with TypeScript. Let me see if there's anything. Well, actually, we're going over the Primigan. So, hope to see you all. What's today? What's the date of the week? Today's Tuesday, so this is the last DevOps one. Python tomorrow. What are we doing in Python tomorrow? Actually, I do like to tell people what we're doing in Python in case you like some Python stuff. Tomorrow we're doing Git in Python. So if you're interested in getting good with version control and doing some coding challenges, hop over to the Python thing tomorrow, which is Wednesday. So that should be pretty fun. Those don't quite go as long because the concepts are a little more concise and we're going pretty slow over there, to be honest. But yeah, great stream. Let's go over and head over to the Prime again. Let them know I said hi. I'll stick around for a little while as usual. Let's raid. One day I'm going to remember the Prime. I never remember it because I always call him the Primesian and I feel bad about it. And I hear everyone call him the Prime again. All right, we're going over in 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. I like that. Automators roll out. I'll see y'all later. Have a great night.